play against, and it was like 9 to 10 pro teams that you could just constantly scrim against 12 hours a day. And the NA side, there was really just Dignitas and TSM that were a top-level team. So there's a really big training distinction. Like, even if Dignitas and TSM tried their hardest to train, they would only be able to scrim each other and maybe like 1 or 2 American teams like MME Ferris and like Orb. You know, it's really hard to get exceptional practice in.
So then, what would you do? Would you keep trying to go to the Korean tournaments or keep trying to travel abroad? Would you take like a mid-season break and try to practice against the world's best elsewhere? Or how would you level your game?
This is a really hard struggle that NA has to kind of find on their own. Do we want to try to develop the scene as a whole and try to encourage each other to, create a better NA, or do we want to just every team kind of fend for themselves and go to the across the world if they want to train and get better themselves? So I guess that's a decision that has to be made come Season 3.
All right. Well, we're going to see if that ends up being the case. Season 3, of course, starting up, I think, early next year. I don't remember the exact time frame or if it's been announced, so, but, certainly a lot of exciting matches, in store for you guys as this tournament goes on. So, Hotshot, thank you very much for your insights. Looks like the players are getting ready pretty soon. So, Riv, what do we got in store?
It's going to be our first semifinal matchup between Freak, 2 huge regional superpowers, M5 BenQ and the Taipei Assassins, to come out very strong. We've seen a little bit from M5 BenQ and from Taipei. We'll have to see what this game brings out.
So it's interesting because these teams, I wouldn't say they're untested by any means, but they came through as regional buys, both in winning in the region, automatically into the quarterfinals. And in their quarterfinals, they 2-0'd the opposition. That's a really good track record so far. Yes. These guys are, for all intents and purposes, very much undefeated, and that's a great place to start. But you still got these teams that are kind of traveling across the world and trying to set themselves up. We are in for a treat. These guys have never played each other before. TPA said M5 was their most respected team in the world. They called them the best team in Europe. And M5, they've beaten one of China's best teams, but can they keep that up?
And Freak, let's figure it out. Let's get these teams introduced, guys. Starting as the red team, they are the dominant powerhouse, hailing from Taiwan. It is the Taipei Assassins. Freak.
We have them here up on stage. You can see the camera going through, waving to the camera, smiling. These guys a little bit confident going in there. And actually, talking with Wicked before these matches started, CLG EU's been playing TPA for practice these last few days. Since Saturday, they've been playing each other. They're on opposite sides of the bracket, so if those teams do meet, they would play in the finals. And Wicked said that he thinks TPA will win this match. Hotshot, again, the same thing, said that he really thought TPA, the Taipei Assassins, had a great shot in this matchup. But I know the internet, reading all those comments, a lot of people expect that Moscow 5 victory, that M5 BenQ versus Zebu Frost grand final. But a lot of predictions here for the Taiwanese team, so there's some good things
Can you blame them? What has Moscow 5 shown us on land before? It's that they always take those wins. They really only falter offline.
They've only ever lost to one
online,
team,
I should
really.
say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's really M5's play is that they will actually practice strategies online, but when LAN comes, it's their A game. But TPA, again, they are proven on LAN. They go into the GPL, they win a lot of games there. 3 losses, I think, in that entire league. They've come through demolishing a lot of competition. Sword 3-0'd the group. Sword beat CLG EU. TPA came up and said, that's nice, Maknoon, but 2-0 is going to be your fate. Thank you very much. TPA, really, really good.
And guys, we have heard from TPA. We have seen the team. Let's meet their challengers, starting as the blue team, the champions from Europe. It's Moscow 5, BenQ.
And what a star-studded lineup. You can see their bottom lane on screen right now. They have been one of the driving forces here for M5 BenQ, and they've really brought out, I think more so than most other teams, a lot of unique picks. Gosu Pepper had run that jungle Zyra earlier in the quarterfinals. AD Kennen, was a very big pick back in Kiev. They're one of the first teams to bring out Misfortune that we've now seen Woong bring out from Azubu Frost. These guys very, very innovative as well. And their roster is star-studded. You know, there's a long history to M5 BenQ. It started with Alex Ish trying to put a team together, ultimately ended up teaming with Genja primarily. Genja said, guys, I want to bring Darien into this lineup. Darien's my homie. Let's bring him in a top lane. They found Gosu Pepper, who we saw at the very, very beginning. And Gosu Pepper said, I've got the guy for the job for jungle. We're going to bring in Diamond. And Diamond, it's funny for him because he came into that team not only 1800 elo, but only knowing Lee Sin.
1800 elo?
Yeah,
that's bad.
Well, you think that, right? But it's a team game. Individual skill, of course, it's very, very relevant.
Right.
But Diamond, I mean, you know, he starts knowing one champion, of course, still favoring that Lee Sin, but he's so strong. It's teamwork based, right? That famous M5 counter jungling is not just because he runs in there and kills a guy, steals golem, and walks out. It's the team overall playing so strongly. Yeah, there's Darien up on screen, and that's, you know, all the solo lanes or the bottom lanes pushing to the turret and allowing everyone else to collapse together. So any star performance you see from any individual on this roster is really the whole team coming together and being strong as a unit.
And Freak, as you said before, you know, Moscow 5 piecing together a team that didn't work for him in the beginning, and then somehow coming to light now with one of the best teams in the world from Season 2 on. Taipei Assassins just grabbing their house actually a few weeks before Season 2 started, as we just talked about really what that means for a team and how well they can coordinate in scrims and just how they're practicing. It's going to be very big for them. However, on April 7th, Freak, that roster was changed to add in Bebe and Toyz. So we'll see if that really affects anything for them. They still have Mistake, they still have Stanley top, and their team is very good on paper and still great on Summoner's Rift.
And they are phenomenal overall. I mean, these guys, again, not losing many matches. The regional champions coming through with just giant victories the whole way out. And this is the good thing, right? These are two rosters that have been together and solid for at least 6 months each. And that's a really good sort of time frame for a team to really gel together and solidify. Both these teams just all stars throughout that entire roster. And, you know, we had a couple of predictions, but I really can't call it either way.
You know, let's find out what we kind of think of what's going to happen in the match, guys. We have our keys to the match, as always, so let's look what both teams have to do right after we get this awesome checkout of what these teams feel about this life-changing semifinal matchup in this next video.
Taipei Assassins had faster wins than any other team in this tournament so far. If they continue that kind of fast-tier play, it's going to crash up against Moscow 5, who also plays really aggressive.
Moscow 5 is always ready to come in very strong, but people don't know that much about Taipei Assassins, so it's going to be an amazing matchup if they bring out something innovative.
他们很厉害，然后我们很尊敬他，我们也很想跟他们一决胜负。我们想知道我们可以把他们逼得怎么样，甚至从他们手上拿下胜利。
如果我们明天可以打得跟今天一模一样的话，我们绝对可以打赢看看。
So Taipei Assassins are just going to have to get really aggressive against Moscow 5.
There you see it. It's all just about the aggression. But let's check out what TPA, those Taipei Assassins, have to do to beat Europe's best team. Freak, first off, they're going to have to free up Lilballz in the jungle.
He is a superstar player. He's so strong overall. He's been playing even on the North American server since beta. Actually, had school, went to university in Canada. Actually, was friends with Big Fat LP, which is where he got a screen name from in the first place. And this guy's been in the scene just forever overall. And his all-star champion is Alistair. Now, I don't think he's going to get it. I think M5's done the research and know to shut him down. But what Lilballz needs to do is really set up his teammates. He needs to be able to go aggressively and get his teammates ahead. He can't sit there and camp and be forced to counter gank over, you know, constantly. He needs to actually create aggression, get his teammates far ahead. He can't sit there and camp Stanley. They really need to get someone farmed on that roster. Lilballz needs to make the plays. He has to be free to be active.
And the next one, moving in from Hong Kong to join them in Taiwan, Toyz needs to carry.
Toyz is such a very, very big deal, and he's up against some of the fiercest competition in the world with Alex Ish. Alex, a heavy roamer, makes a lot of plays throughout the map, and he's pretty much the one mid laner who roams more than anyone else. So Toyz needs to take that and realize that he needs to put on a lot of pressure. He needs to push Alex down. We saw actually in the Invictus matchup versus M5 where Alex gave up a couple of kills to the mid laner from Invictus, where you know, he got shut down by Cassiopeia as Evelyn, and that was a really good job by Zatai. Toyz needs to embrace that and do the same kind of thing, force people down, bring himself up.
And with one of the most versatile champion pools of any team in League of Legends, and the most versatile way to use them, Taipei Assassins has to know they just cannot ban out Moscow 5.
Yeah, that team has been together for so long, and these players are so experienced that there's no way they can shut down M5 just based on picks. TPA has to come up with their own strategy, and this is something that Dan Din said. I talked to him backstage, and he was saying that these Asian teams in particular will pretty much prepare about like 7 strategies and just refine them in practice. They're less about the counter picking, they're less about the counter so much as saying, okay, we're gonna go with strat A or strat B or strat C, and they'll refine and refine and refine it, and they need to make sure their champion select is based on themselves because they're an aggressive team. You saw Jat in that package saying they win their games the fastest of any team here. If they put that aggression on from second one and don't let up, they just want to make their picks happen, kind of champ select for themselves and not for M5, and just keep it going.
So, now we know Taipei Assassins' keys to victory. Let's see how Moscow 5, BenQ, can assert their dominance over this matchup. Freak the first one, much like Wicked, they just need to leave Darien alone.
Yeah, Darien on an island is the best place for him to be because you saw his matches against Invictus and it just did not matter. He got shut down, what, 0-4 on Olaf and then ended the game 8-4, just picking up kills all day.
And on the first game.
Yeah, in Xinjiao, he had a really bad start as well, still got the Sunfire Cape done, still became the tank, did fine. They don't need to have Diamond to run around babysitting him. He always comes back. Darien is so fearsome, actually. If you think about SK Gaming a few months back, where they had a kind of a roster swap where they sent Kevin down to AD carry, and they had Ocelot run up to top lane. Yep. It was rumored that it was Kevin quitting top lane because he said he could never beat Darien. Now, that might be unconfirmed, that might not be true, but I heard it. And, you know, Darien is fearsome. Like, you got to believe that's absolutely a possibility here. And you look at players like Alex Ish here on screen, you know, those are the guys you actually want to get farmed because they'll have more of an impact early mid-game. Darien will always show up late. Let him do it.
And the next one going on, this one really focusing on Diamondprox, having, I believe, at least 6 dragons within the 2 games of Invictus, 2 of those being steals. They need to continue to maintain objective control.
This is really how M5 turned around the early lead that Invictus had, where IG really turned on the pressure, got a lot of successful ganks, really kind of pushed the game away from M5 in the first 20 minutes. But what Diamond and Ghost Pepper did, specifically the 2 of them, was they would actually duo up on Dragon. It was crazy. They would time the opponent's wards, say, okay, the ward is done, Diamond would start it, Zyra would come over from behind and sort of help him out and pick that kill off, and while top, mid, and the AD carry are still fighting in lane, you know, IG didn't realize that they were actually sneaking a dragon in, and M5 did this multiple times and continued their gold and kept up throughout that game. It's a trick that M5 needs to continue here, where, you know, that early game is going to be rocky against TPA. They need to find something in that early mid game to still keep the gold up. That's going to be objectives like turrets and dragons.
And for Moscow 5, with Toyz and Bebe being so scary throughout this tournament, they really need just to adapt to the right carry.
This is really what happened, again, with the IG matchup, where everyone on TPA is so strong, they've all got a lot of damage. Any of them can actually carry that matchup. If Stanley has an amazing lane up top, he's going to do really well. Toyz and Bebe the same way. They've got to shut down the guys putting out all the damage.
So, guys, we are going to be looking into jumping into Champion Select quite soon. Looks like both teams have got themselves in to see what we will have for your picks and bans underway here. We said they should not try to ban out Moscow 5, but TPA still has to do what they can to try and get the advantage from Champion Select.
So here we go. The thing is going on, and we're seeing the first few bans come out. Now, M5's first ban on Maokai plays to their common strengths. They have fighters. Like, that is how Diamond plays the jungle. It's Lee Sin, of course, being banned out right here. Shyvana, Udyr, those are his top 3 jungles. He'll go to those 3 over and over and over again and try to set up those situations. M5, though, they've got their own sort of roster tier of champion selects. Nunu, Sona, if not that, Zyra for support, Ezreal and Kog'Maw, the big 2 AD carries here. So they're kind of setting up these counter actions. Now, you know, you're seeing them drop out the really common picks here, and they want to give themselves, you know, a Shen top lane. They want to give themselves maybe that mid Evelyn or a nice team comp for a Kog'Maw in the background. So you're going to see what they run for right here. Typically, when you've got first pick, the first few picks in general that come in here, you look for something safe, something that works with kind of everything. Nunu is one of those examples where, you know, he can synergize for an aggressive bottom lane, or he can play kind of a protect the Kog'Maw composition. We saw that from Counter Logic Gaming Europe just a few minutes ago, where it was Nunu Kog'Maw in the bottom, Karthus scaled throughout the mid, and they had everyone else kind of play just defense across that board. It's really, really scary for them.
You know, Freak, surprisingly enough, they do go for that Kog'Maw pick, even though they don't have the Orianna in the game. But, however, Blitzcrank is taken out of the lineup, so it's a little safer to play that Cog without as much crowd control, especially grabbing Shen for the safety.
Exactly. That makes a lot of sense. When you put Shen and Kog'Maw together, it really opens up a world of possibilities. Nunu's kind of relative power absolutely drops when you take Cog off the field, and when you put Shen in there, you don't necessarily need an Orianna, you just need some kind of burst healing or burst shield,
right.
Because, you know, if Nocturne Leona or Nocturne Malphite or something like that jumps onto you, it is a scary place to be, right? And so you need some kind of survival tool like a Shen ultimate, like a Stand United, and that's going to give Kog'Maw pretty much free reign to fight, and that's kind of what's gone down here. So you're seeing that Shen Kog'Maw, really strong combo. Alex Each going right back to that Evelynn. He forced Invictus to ban Eve the very second game, and you know, we'd seen her banned so very much, but picked up immediately by M5, and they're like, yep, we're going to go for Eve. You know, again, whenever it's available, a very, very strong roamer, sets up a lot of opportunities, will scale throughout the game, and the crazy thing here, this is the second time we've seen M5 pick Evelynn and not care about that mid lane. He does not care what he's up against. Like, you know, we saw the Cassiopeia counter pick against Invictus, did not care, lost a kill in lane, but still scaled throughout, went like 8-3 in that game, had a phenomenal job. Diamond still trying to figure out what his champion is, but you're seeing M5 already set up for a late game scaling composition. Grabbing this Yorick here in this means they're also not burstable anymore. No matter who TPA tries to kill out, they're still going to be able to put, you know, a clone back on someone, whether they revive Alex Each, whether they revive Genja, no matter what it is, the guy's going to come back to life and continue fighting. It's a really strong setup still here for M5.
So now, knowing with those picks, do you still think they may go with the Vayne? That would be a super late game team coming from Moscow 5 BenQ, but they've, you know, last time they actually showed Zyra and then went to select Eve and took Zyra later. So they've seemed to they've tended to do that quite a bit on M5's side.
Actually, Vayne would make quite a bit of sense here because they're against a not hyper-aggressive lane. Whenever you're against a Kog'Maw, he's not the biggest lane bully. It's not Corki, Ezreal, or Graves.
You gotta wait
who are
so
going to
long
jump
to
into your
attack
face.
first.
Right, yeah, he's got to swing at auto attacks. He doesn't really spam abilities much at you. He's not a great poker. You can take some damage, but if you've got Nunu Vayne together, that late game is ludicrously good. And especially when you've got a Yorick on that team, even if Vayne does die, again, she will come back to life and continue wreaking havoc. IPL 3 was actually the tournament that was defined by Yorick Vayne. You saw teams have to ban out Yorick to deal with that kind of situation. It made it really, really awkward. And it's weird here to actually see Taric picked up with the Kog'Maw, because that's not a lane synergy you see very often. You typically see Taric as an aggressive laner, as a bullier, but they're saying, no, we're going to pair that up with Cog, and they've got a really weird mix of lane control, where Taric can stop any aggression, but at the same time, they've also still got Kog'Maw just being Kog'Maw and really kind of scaling himself throughout. So you're still seeing, you know, a lot of potential pickups here, and really no guaranteed overall strategies. The mid lane still not picked up for Taipei Assassins, and still that total bottom lane and the top lane, or possibly jungle, really still not picked up for M5 BenQ.
You know, Freak, they're going to have to be really safe in this bottom lane, unless they choose to do some type of swap. Lee Sin, or at least Diamondprox himself, starting on that blue side, likes to start those red champions and could go for that early bottom gank. So that Taric, although isn't the best synergy, as you said, with Kog'Maw, is going to help. We see them actually going for the Vayne pickup and the Xin Zhao.
So this is M5 really playing a very similar strategy to their very first game in this tournament, where they've got that Evelynn in middle. They're not worried too much about the matchup. They've got, you know, just a hyper scaling bottom lane Genja going with the summoner heal on Vayne to keep himself alive longer, and Xin Zhao's going to be forced to play the role of main tank. Actually, no, Xin Zhao won't play main tank. He's actually going to be in the jungle. It's Yorick up at the top lane, and Yorick should be able to farm himself up some decent durability. Xin Zhao's going to be much more of an assassin in this lineup, and that's going to be a little bit hard for him, because I don't know if Xin Zhao Evelynn can completely kill off that Kog'Maw. He's got the Shen shield still available. There's a stun and a heal from Taric. I'm actually not sure that M5 BenQ can kill off Kog'Maw. So right now, that point we talked about, adapt to the carry, I don't know if they can completely adapt to Bebe in this game. It's going to depend a lot on how that lane matches up. As they're seeing the rest of this champion pool come through, looks like Taipei Assassins going for a Karthus pickup. So it's interesting, M5 playing a team very, very similar to what they ran game 1 against Invictus. TPA running a team honestly very similar to what Counterlogic Gaming Europe just ran just a few minutes ago. Both these teams actually ridiculously good late games. You know, a mix of teamfight presence in the middle. But these are awkwardly similar teams. I'm actually not sure who comes out ahead here.
Freak, I'm gonna put it out there that I feel like Moscow 5 during that mid to late game is going to have the better initiate. You're looking for Kog'Maw and Karthus to really start to tear out some damage. Alex Ish will be sure to find one of them in the beginning, and you're going to see Nunu iceballing Kog'Maw, completely shutting down his attack speed. So once those are out, the cooldowns from Bear Stance and Dazzle waiting to come back up, and Taunt, if they don't hit those perfectly, it's going to be a very tough fight because Moscow 5, like Hotshot said, like Dan Din said, they have amazing fighting mechanics.
This is going to be really awkward as well. It's going to be very difficult. Yeah, you know, M5's fighting mechanics are amazing because Genja's going to have really no chance of getting shut down. It'll be very difficult for him to get kicked out of this matchup. It's difficult. Neither team has amazing hard engage. There's a little bit of poke on both sides, a little bit of pressure on both sides. But this game, I feel like it's going to be the story of AD carries, of late game carries who aren't going to get caught too much and will just start eviscerating the front line. I think it's a matchup more about gold than about positioning because there's no ideal positioning on either side.
Yeah, it's going to be that catch somebody off guard the entire time, hide in the bush, allow Nunu's ult to start something, and, you know, continue a very long and sustained fight with the Yorick ulti on Vayne. And that's going to be, you know, the #1 objective for them as they come into this matchup. TPA, as we said before, that suffocation strategy that Moscow 5 may not be able to get away from right away, but we'll be sure to see them fighting hard as they come into that mid to late game. Ladies and gentlemen, the game is underway. Your first quarterfinal match, or semifinal matchup, I should say, of the League of Legends World Championship Playoffs. Here we go.
Alrighty. We get ourselves up into this one. The blue team, once again, M5 BenQ. The red team you're seeing on your screen right here is Taipei Assassins. This is going to be an incredibly epic matchup. It's a best of 3, and the winner of this match, the winner of this best of 3, moves on to the $1 million match, that grand final. We're seeing who's going to win between M5 and TPA. Later today, we see who wins between Azubu, Frost, and Counterlogic Gaming Europe. While that's a rematch, that Frost CLG match, that's a rematch of a tournament just a month ago. These are teams who have never seen each other. And once again, TPA saying they most respect M5 of any team in the world. M5 have come through as a heavy favorite here. There is a lot of questions to be answered here. The last Mandarin-speaking team left in this group. There's a Korean team left there from Asia. But we're about to be whittling down this roster very, very quickly. You're seeing TPA open up pretty defensively. You're seeing M5 as well opening pretty defensively. Neither of these teams looking for early aggression.
It looks like Alex Ich just using that invisibility to his advantage right now, just staying slightly out of range, seeing a glimpse of each of the champions on Taipei's side as they are hovering that top side. Coming into this, they do have that Udyr in the jungle. You usually see an Udyr focusing blue. What do you think they could be proposing with this, just top guard? Do you think they're going to be aggressive from Moscow 5, or they're going to go right around to blue after?
Oh, they could jump Darien at any time. This is one of the really difficult things here, is especially, I actually want to look at Shen real quick and see if Stanley has even learned Vorpal Spike, because if he has saved his point, Stanley has saved his first skill point, so they could absolutely give Lilballz a Lizard buff and gank right away, but instead it looks like they are going to go aggressively after all and go for an invade.
Looks like they're coming around at just the right time. That blue buff spawning 5 seconds ago, they are going to push them off of this. Moscow 5 kind of conceding here. They're not putting too much pressure. Alex Ish coming around from the backside as well. The top is in. The Dazzler goes down. Too much focus. Lilballz going to help his team now. Diamond with the flash. Alex Ish in poor positioning. And it looks like Taipei Assassins, although in somewhat of not a solid position, they will be able to just walk this back and forth. They force the flash from Diamond, and that's going to be very good. You're not going to see huge aggression from him, and that'll kind of shut down his presence out of the jungle.
So this is interesting overall. Oh my gosh, Toyz actually teleported into the bottom lane to deal with Genja. I have not seen this in quite some time, but they are lane swapping, and it's just like the Koreans play against Caston. They're putting a 2-on-1 in that mid lane. Any sort of melee mage to run the mid lane, especially one without great long-range tools. Like if it's Gragas can 2v1, it's not really that big of a deal, but someone like Evelyn or Cassidon is going to have a really hard time fighting that 2-on-1 there, so that might have been why Tarek got picked up, is once they realized that Blitzcrank was banned out, they said, you know what, okay, let's go for an aggressive mid lane here. You know, you can't do the same thing with Leona because Leona must jump on top of you, but with Tarek here, they can shut down Alex. They have a completely free lane for Kog'Maw, so he's going to have gold this entire matchup. This is really, really good.
You know, TPA formulated this perfectly. They went into the jungle and made sure that Moscow 5 wasn't in lane. They weren't soaking up experience. Then when they brought these lanes into sight, they did not give Moscow 5 enough time to react, so they're going to have to stick with what they have for now until they can really have to go back or are forced out of lane. So TPA with a very great strat mentally right now.
And yeah, I think they hope they actually give that golem buff away to Toyz at the beginning. They know Udyr can jungle without that kind of buff. but Toyz wants that mana to survive the lane. At the same time, they're pushing up for a gank.
And this is what you get out of a squishy AP carry going down for first blood for Moscow 5.
That is the perfect play right there. That is exactly what they need to do, is they know he's got a bit of a weak matchup. They got Diamond around the jungle fast enough that he did show up for that gank. That's a really, really great play. Even got the blue steal as part of it. That's really good counter-strat orchestration here by M5BenQ. Alex still with a bad lane, only 2 minion kills. You've got to remember that. That's a very big disadvantage, but at the same time, it's still risky for it's still difficult for both these teams this early game.
So we see Udyr coming out to middle. Looks like he could try to get some help on Lilballz, showing some presence, going back into the jungle. They had that ward on Wraiths, so he could retime it, actually putting another one down. Diamond with both buffs, making his way through the jungle. Gosu joining in mid so Alex can get a little bit easier of a time here. We see Mistake's hand is raised, and we're going to get him fixed up. Probably just pointing out a few things with his headphones. Could have a little bit of a sound issue, but these guys right now with that lane swap, you saw Karthus go down, and I'd say Vayne is a pretty good counter to that. You can condemn him away if he's getting close. You can just dive away from the lay waste. That's going to be, like you said, a fed lane for that.
It's difficult on both sides. It's interesting. So as far as the lane goes, you're absolutely right. That Genja's going to have a really good time fighting Karthus one-on-one. She's got Tumble to dodge lay waste. She's got Contempt to push him back. In general, she should be pretty safe. The difficulty, though, is that he's not worried about the lane too much. He's just trying to farm and survive, and as long as M5 doesn't keep showing up, he'll be okay. The difficulty for Vayne actually is team fights. Yes, she can condemn him back, and that makes it a little bit nice, but if she's ever to fight, she will be in range for Wall of Pain, she will be in range for Lay Waste, and she's almost definitely going to be in range for Defile, especially if you played Suicide Karthus, who just runs into the front and tries to soak up hits and tries to just, get you in range for everything. You've got to sort of realize, like, even if Genja has a really good team fight and Karthus dies, he's got to realize, okay, well, do I stay in Defile and keep team fighting and hope to out-lifesteal it, or do I get zoned for 7 seconds, get forced out of the battle because of Defile and because of Lay Waste, and come back later? Leaving 7 seconds for Bebe to fight people as Kog'Maw is really, really scary. So Genja in a bit of a tricky spot. I think that's actually why partially TPA waited so long to pick their mage, is they were trying to see what was going to come out from M5. When it's Vayne that comes out, Karthus is a really, really good pick here, and actually can really screw with her early mid game. When we used to see Kennen be more popular, we saw Kennen as a counter pick to Vayne because that's slicing Maelstrom the same way. If Vayne is to fight at all, she's going to be in range of slicing Maelstrom, and if she's to fight at all here, she's going to be in range of Defile and Lay Waste.
That could be very tough for them. They have that oriented team that wants to get into the fight. They have Xin, they have Nunu that's going to have to get in there to ult, if anything, to slow people down with that Ice Blast as well, and you just have a team that wants to get in. So they're going to have to, at some point, leave him to himself, so he's got to be careful.
And this is interesting too because, while both teams are a bit late game oriented, TPA's lineup is all about kind of getting in and sticking to it. They've got hardcore initiation. Udyr cannot kite at all. He's just simply got to go all in. Shen goes all in. Kog'Maw's going to fire from the back, and that's fine, but Karthus and all these guys are going to kind of just go in and just kind of go for the push and fight hard and stick in that battle. That's kind of how TPA is going to get into those fights, and that really plays again to their advantage because they will try to push out Vayne and things like that. M5's lineup is much more they've got the hardcore initiation, but it's very much about burst damage. We saw this synergy in the very first game where it was Xin Zhao on top of Evelynn. Xin Zhao does a percentage of your current health with Crescent Sweep. It's going to hit everyone for a lot of damage. Evelynn's going to hit everyone with her ultimate for a percentage of their maximum health. So at the very start of the fight, if TPA is not positioned well and their team is melee heavy, it's aggression to the fight, it's get close together, they can all get hit by those ultimates and all get chunked down to half health the second the fight starts. That is a scary place to be in. We just saw that first team comp, 3 of them dealing percentage max health damage. Right? Again, Xin Zhao, Evelynn, and Kog'Maw. Without Xin Zhao, Evelynn, and Vayne, all of them will continue to keep scaling with the game for free. Again, it's a late game team composition, a lot of burst damage at the beginning, and it's just kind of held in the back by a late game carry who will keep killing people off. So you're going to look for these fights to be, you're going to look basically to the first 4 seconds of the fight. Where is M5's initiation good? Did Alex get free roam? Did Genja get free roam? If yes to either of those, great. They're going to be in pretty good shape for the fight overall. TP has to go all in their persistent damage. If they actually catch someone with their all in, with Shen into Udyr into Taric, that person should die. They've got so much persistent damage with Karthus, with Kog'Maw, and even with just like Shen and Udyr kind of punching things in the face, they can kill someone in those 5 seconds. So, you know, does M5 get the right initiation, burst someone down, disengage the right target, have him re-enter, or does TPA catch that one target, kill the one guy, and then move on onto a 5v4? That's really the sort of make or break point on these team fights.
You know, he takes it into his own hands, and I think really the person to watch for this, and when it gets into the initiation, is Alex Ich. Really makes Eve into a hard initiator for what it's worth. We saw him diving Kid completely within 5 members of Invictus Gaming during their games to set up and start the fights, pretty much from like just, it was a requiem hitting somebody. You saw the life disappear. Alex would take so many cooldowns, and then he would flash out of the fight. And that's what you're talking about, Freak, because if TPA cannot use those first cooldowns right, can get those sustained hits in, they're going to get bursted out of the fight. So we're going to watch for Alex Ich to really come in here and start these out. It's going to be scary, though. You have Taunt, Dazzle, and Bear Stance. So if they don't get those fights right, as you said, it's going to be pretty torturous. We should see this coming into late game. Alex does not like to fight. We saw him going down to Cassiopeia on Zatai quite a bit in the Invictus game. He was just having trouble in lane. Here, seems like he's actually doing a little bit better in the start. And the mids have dodged back and forth. Obviously, he does have that double support or support in mid with him, so he won't be going against Karthus in the orthodox middle AP carry gameplay. So we'll have to see if Alex can really get himself formidable enough to do the initiations he did in that last game, because that Eve was really a factor for any of the team fights to begin.
And this is actually, and she is a huge factor. And you're absolutely right. You know, Alex is going to be a huge playmaker for this M5 lineup. But it's different here. What TPA's done, again, despite the Karthus dying, of course, that's a little bit harsh. It's a lot of free gold for Genja and that kind of, actually, you know, Genja got some. Actually, the first blood went to Gosu Pepper. But the really difficult thing here, though, is Alex will scale with gold much more than that top laner than Darien would. You know, the first game where Darien was stuck in a 1v2 had a very abysmal early game as Xin Zhao, or he was in the 1v1 and had a very rough early game as Olaf. They weren't relying on him for the composition. That wasn't really him. You know, he wasn't the linchpin in the strategy. Right. In this, when you've got an AP Evelynn, that is the linchpin. She needs to get that burst on. They don't have the safe damage output. Vayne is catchable. You know, Diamond being on Xin Zhao as a jungler means he's not going to get a lot of gold. He's not going to hyperscale. It's not the same as getting a soul in Xin Zhao. He doesn't have the option of buying Youmu's in a Bloodthirster or a Trinity Force or things like that and really scale himself up. He won't have that. He'll have Wriggles. He might have an Aegis. And that's going to be most of the items you're going to see. He'll kind of stop at Wriggles Aegis and try to go from there, but you're not going to see that build stretch much more. And you look at Darien. Darien's on Yorick. Yorick is not a hard carry. Yorick is there as, you know, a sort of half support, very brutal laner, but he's against Shen. He's not going to shut down Shen. Shen's got free sustain, he's got a shield. You know, that lane matchup is not great for M5 there either. It really is on Alex to join Genja on top of piles of gold. You know, Alex needs to become Scrooge McDuck and actually get those coins in his pockets because he does need to support and be another damage threat here. I don't think they can rely on just Genja here.
You know, Freaking, it may come into play here. Jat was talking about it within the last game of when they switch up the lanes, it becomes very easy, and some people forget that other people are going to show up in the jungle that much sooner. So you'll see, you know, especially there's a Karthus on the map. A lot of people will forget that. And even when you're playing with them, they'll go in for a very hard fight in the tower dive and then forget Karthus is on the map. And those little things are going to give the other team increments to get ahead and ahead. And we'll have to see if this mid lane swap, we haven't really seen too much invading other than that level 1. Since those two are in mid, I think the buff control is kind of just going to be left to each team. And these dragon fights are going to be very big in the early game.
Dragon's going to be a huge deal for M5 because as soon as we get to the mid game where the lanes start hitting level 6, TPA has like the ultimate dive comp ever, where they're going to try to leave Karthus alone and let him sit in his lane and just farm up, and I think he's going to be reasonably safe. What they're going to look for is getting Bebe farmed, and as a side benefit, shutting down Alex Ich on Evelynn. That's really the goal here. You know, the way a jungler really works, I was talking with Dan about, you know, the role of a jungler, and he was saying that you know, a jungler is there to put your team ahead. It's there to push forward, kind of amplify a teammate. You don't gank as a jungler to shut someone down so much. I mean, of course, you remove them from lane, they get a little bit behind, but you gank to get someone ahead. You gank for a teammate, not against an opponent. That's really how you think about jungling, is it really is there to bolster your teammates. And the fortunate thing here is I think they really want to gank to bolster Bebe. He is the major carry here on Kog'Maw. He will be the most receptive to gaining gold because he needs to make sure that he has enough you know, levels and items and whatnot to withstand Alex's burst and withstand Diamond's burst. If you can do those, he's good to go, smooth sailing. He can just solo Xin Zhao, withstand the burst from Evelynn, and just be fine, right? He's going to have a great time. The secondary benefit, though, is that lane right now, it actually will be a gank on Alex Ich on Evelyn. And yes, again, removing someone from a lane will, stop them getting a little bit of gold. It will stop them getting a little bit of experience. It will slow him down quite a bit. And those intersect very, very, very well. And the problem is, for M5 really, is Diamond will love to counter gank. And he will. He'll do a really good job of showing up and supporting Alex, supporting Ghost Pepper, trying to shut down Bebe. But here's the issue. TPA has Stanley on Shen, and they've got Toyz on Karthus. So as long as they gank that mid lane, they send the jungler in, the support's already there, they're going to have 5 members participating every single time they go mid. The Global from Requiem, the Global Stand United from Shen, they're all going to be there. TPA can bring 5 people to a fight every 3 minutes, and they should. Every time those spells are up, they should go back to mid and crush Alex's hopes and dreams. If they can rinse and repeat that, they're going to have a really, really good time of this. What M5 has done is they've brought Gosu Pepper to the mid lane, they've sent Nunu as a support to Alex, which is a little bit harsh because now he's going to get less experience having to share that lane. But I don't think that Nunu is necessarily enough to keep that really happening. That I think really TPA has a lot of keys here in this early mid game. They can just push through, ignore the first blood. Toyz is going to be okay. His flash is still up. He's going to scale throughout. He'll get that Rod of Ages, sustain in lane. If he's really stuck in a 1v1, it's not going to be that big of a deal. And I think he's going to survive this overall.
Freak, something we haven't brought to point as well is even if that late game starts to go in favor of Moscow 5, you have the double teleport, the Stand United and the Karthus teleport. So even if Requiem is coming from across the map, he's going to be in your face. We're now back into the game after everything is situated. 1-0 here. 4 minutes and 43 seconds on that, and I'm a liar. Call me a liar, this guy right here. So we are going to just take that a quick second. It looks like he liked it at first. There's a monitor and mouse that they're just kind of working out here. So once he gets that situated, we all know that stuff's not working right. You don't want to go any further. You want to get it situated. So as we were saying, that teleport strategy that could be used, it just adds to the versatility of the composition that they do have good initiation to start, Stand United, that Wall of Pain, and then the teleport in if Karthus has to Requiem from across the map to start. So that late game could be denied a little bit. Well, let's look at the matchup between the King and Queen of hyper late game carry, that Kog'Maw versus Vayne. Now, a Vayne can be very scary and can definitely outplay a Kog'Maw. Stun him against the wall, that fight's over. But Kog'Maw has the upper hand from the start.
Yeah, so the thing is here that Vayne really has the best dueling of the AD carries. She's got the condemn against the wall you just mentioned, the invisibility, the tumble, all the damage. She is absolutely the queen of AD carries, and it's great that she's a great duelist as well because she is right now dueling up against Karthus, and she'll be able to play that matchup correctly and completely dominate that one. Now Kog'Maw, I think he's got a bit of a better lane there. He's supported with the Taric, and that was actually a pick for the lane more so than just sort of the team comp. So that ended up working out as a shutdown. And yeah, he should have an easy time of this one, and he will, I think, in general, outscale unless assassins get too big. So Vayne can tumble and go invisible for a second and push someone back. That's her safety net. It's decent. It's there. She can kind of keep herself a bit safer. Kog'Maw does not have that. Kog'Maw just has range. But Diamond can reach that as Xin Zhao. Alex can reach that as Evelyn. So you've got a very weird mismatch here where there's no assassin there for Genja. Genja shouldn't be under much pressure. Yes, Karthus will be painful, but if he has the lifesteal and the positioning on Vayne to survive it, then Vayne is untouched and Vayne will continue to fight. It's really on Alex and Diamond. It's a different matchup here, right? Because Genja is going to be on himself. Can you dodge? Can you play well? Okay, Genja, then you're fine if you're good enough. But it's on Diamond and Alex for gold, really, right? Do they get farmed enough? Do they get the damage? Can they shut down Kog? And if they can, there's not as many options here for Bebe. He can cleanse a slow, but that's about it.
All right, guys. So I'm pretty sure we asked you to ask us questions. LOL Worlds is the hashtag, and you guys did. So we're going to answer a few of those right now as the players get themselves situated and we get this underway. So as your social questions come in, we will be sure to get those answered. It's going to be Bobby Ray 25 on Twitter. He's saying, Freak and Riv, do you feel the metagame of each region will merge into a world meta?
Well, it's interesting because there's actually different approaches on each side. So Dan was talking about, how a lot of the Asian teams play, where they'll prepare their own individual strategies and rehearse them and get them very prepared and kind of go for it. And the Asians in general seem to be very aggressive. They're a little bit M5-esque. And so what I was thinking, as a point was that these guys don't you know, these guys haven't played M5 almost ever. They rarely leave their region. M5's kind of an enigma, but they've got a lot of great teams to practice against. And you know, the only European teams that most of these Asian teams have seen is CLG EU, who plays so different from M5. But realistically, those Asian teams actually just play very similarly. It's aggressive, it's a lot of counter juggling, it's a lot of early movements, and great team fight presence overall. Even in this tournament, though, we've got different strats. CLG EU is late game focused, and the only team that really does that, them and CLG NA, where they avoid team fights early on and then try to win at the 35-minute mark. Now, I think that you know, teams will keep their own strategies.
And guys, I believe we are now jumping back into the game. We do see the lane movement going around, so let's get the action back underway here. 5 minutes into the matchup. We are in that bit of a top lane here. It is 5,300 gold to 5,600 gold. You can see Stanley and Darien just kind of duking it out. Stanley preemptively shielding up to make sure he dodges that ghoul damage. Darien just pushing out his mana from that bar. Stanley will have a little bit better time in this lane, but like we said, Freak, that is not a fight lane. Those guys are not going to take each other down. Alex Ish being pressured very hard in mid here. As you see, Gosu Pepper is still forced to go around the map. He is still making sure his lanes are okay, and that's going to be bottom from Genja as well.
Alex.
Huge damage there. A nice dazzle. Bebe taking a turret shot. This is the pressure here. This is the stranglehold suffocation that Taipei Assassins wants to throw on. Nunu can't always stay middle. He still wants to support Vayne. That's going to become a tough lane. Genja's not too hurt right now, and he's actually farming just as well. As we see Toyz, the flash, the initiation, the dazzle goes down, but he flashes out perfectly. Diamond coming in to deter this attack, and they also waste the summoner exhaust there. One attack from Alex. You can see him always doing the little bit amount of damage, getting the upper hand as much as they can.
And that was really, really good. Diamond knew that was a prime counter. It was a prime gank attempt right there. Was waiting in the wings, immediately jumped on, put on the crowd control, and a great move. 2 flashes used to try to jump on Alex. Alex, the 1 flash of himself, got himself out. Really, really good plays. But I want to talk about this top lane a little bit. Stanley's making some cool moves. Whenever a ghoul chases after him, if he can do it, he actually runs into the brush and forces the ghoul to stop and actually hit minions instead. So you'll see when the lane is actually more neutral right here, Stanley will jump to the brush to kind of deter those kind of moves, and it allows him to push back to his turret. That's a really good move to do against Yorick to keep that lane kind of in your favor. But you're seeing that matchup still much better for Shen. He's winning in minions, and he'll continue to do well. And now being the first to level 6 as well means he can really support these gank attempts and really just snowball his side lanes ahead. You won't see Karthus get tower dive nearly as easily again.
So not usually seeing the Dorans on a jungler. Xin going for that first. Diamond feels like he just wants lane presence to get out here and wants to be a little bit more tanky. You can see him going down towards bottom lane or into the blue brush. He doesn't see that Karthus is there. And you are going to get some invasion here into the jungle. Just a ward from Diamond. That was his only one. He was backing previously, so we may see him go back to buy. Gosu joining again with even mid. That Blood Boil on. Not going to assist too powerfully much, but obviously help her get out of some sticky situations, especially with Dazzle. And you can see it, Lilballz doing the exact same thing, pretty much just mirroring what we saw Diamondprox do, heading around, warding the jungle, making sure every one of the bushes is clear. And we can see they're getting quite aggressive here. The roam comes in from the jungler and support. This is the benefit of having those guys in mid. But like I said, there will be others there. Lilballz may have forgot that right away. And here comes the Stand United into the fight. This means that Stanley, or rather, that's going to be Darien now having quite a fun top lane Freak. But as I said before, they weren't controlling objectives. They go and take it.
And that was a really orchestrated move. We talked in the pregame about M5 having team-based counter jungling. Well, they actually sent Karthus all the way from bottom lane to walk over saying, we're going to steal the blue. We have the numbers advantage. We know we will outfight an underfarmed Evelyn. We know we will outfight them. We've got Stand United. They simply walked over, and M5 knew it. M5 knew they had complete control, did not even contest anything. Now, they had waited in the brush. They knew they couldn't win the fight, but they knew they could at least burn Stand United. And so they burned one of those not summoners, but one of those very long cooldown ultimates. It's a very, very big move there.
So we're seeing great defense from Moscow 5, Ben Q in mid. Usually you see the AD carry support switch coming in to really drop a lane as soon as possible and push that person around for the roam. But they've really swapped the lanes just back to normal. That kill going to Genja. They're saying Vayne could be starting to get a little strong. We see Gosu coming in. They go for a mistake. However, the Dazzle goes out into Xin. The 3 talent has not popped him up yet. The crowd control is great. But there is the teleport as well. Stand United is not going to come in this fight, so they are faced with the amount of champions from TPA they have here, and they're still forced to back up. Very low mana and health coming into that fight, and a scene, Lilballz right here, seeing LHS as he's forced to run in the bush. That ward gives him a bit of vision, and and there's the speed buff steroid coming in for Alex to get out safely. TPA now grabs their own blue buff, but Alex sits on the wing to try and take this one away. Pressure coming in as well from Diamond. They do have that ward, they do not get the steal on it. Goes to Lilballz.
And that bottom lane fight really should have gone in M5's favor. There's two rules really of fighting in general. Number one is if you're on a 2-on-2, you always attack the AD carry, because if you don't attack him, he'll attack you back and he'll win that fight. And that was the rule that that Genja was following. You saw him jump up and try to focus down Bebe's Kog'Maw. The problem was that wasn't a 2-on-2, it was a 3-on-2. It was a free kill completely, and the team focused on the Mistake. They exhausted Mistake. They stunned Mistake. And Genja went for the entire other champion. If he landed 3 attacks on a Mistake, that would have been a kill on the Terror Core, at the very least forcing his flash out. But that's not what they did. They completely did not go for him. And they would have been 300 gold for Genja without a doubt if he went for the right target.
So we see 10 minutes coming into the game. The pressure, not so much causing falters, but a little bit of miscommunication there. We did see 10,900 gold to 10,400. Very, very close in the economy situation. And it is 1 kill in favor of Moscow 5. We saw them grab that. It did go over to Gosu, rather, in middle, but we got 2 assists on it. That's going to be going to Diamond as well as Genja. So 2 good people to get that money early in the game. And we can see Genja quickly, not just going for straight damage, but trying to really scale that W up with the Zeal right off the bat.
And that's really how you kind of play as Vayne, is you've got a lot of base damage because of Silver Bolts and Tumble and all that. And so what you're really trying to go for is just speed. It's getting into fights, you know, engaging and disengaging. She's a little bit short range because she doesn't have those long range poke tools like Kog'Maw does. And so she's going to kind of keep setting herself up and get into and out of fights as fast as possible.
Ward clearing going on now, coming from Lilballz, double buff on that Udyr. The lane is pushed up quite a bit, but they know that ward was just taken out. He shows himself bottom. This is going to give some help. This is a perfect chance to counter. Now that he is gone, he's going to walk away quite a bit. We see him coming back here. Diamond's going to know that procced him to just stay. Lilballz is still very much so interested in this fight. Diamond has backed, so still Moscow 5 must be careful. Great job, Gosu Pepper using the mentality to act as just a live ward in the bush to keep Genja safe.
And right now you're seeing the sort of matchup for TPA is that I think they're happy to kind of scale throughout this game. And I think they want to keep putting pressure on Alex and get a lot of gold up there and keep him from farming. I think this is the one time you would actually gank to shut someone down, because they don't want to give Alex Evelyn those roam opportunities, because you know, he's at the level now, being level 8 really, where he can actually shove minion waves out. You just saw him do that now, and he's going to roam around the map and look for an opportunity. If they can keep Alex down and burn his spells, he can't do that.
And we see quite low health going into a fight. They initiate down bottom. A beautiful job there. They called in the stand united for the fight. Diamondprox coming in very big. He charges in to get the kill. Alice Ish coming up with that one onto Kog'Maw. Bebe trying to blast out the true damage. And we are going to find Mistake on the chase. Stanley is quite hurt as well. Darien coming down to assist the fight. This is going to be huge for Moscow 5 if they can continue to micro themselves out of the damage. Lilballz is left by himself as Toyz flashes away. The triple kill for Moscow 5. Darien coming up huge. 4 altogether.
Can you believe that? That roam coming through, and of course, it is complete control for Dragon. They could even go to mid if they wanted to pick up another turret, but I think they're going to recall back instead. They know if they're low on health, they could get counter-pushed instead, so you're going to see Darien come back, walk to that top lane. You're going to see Genja just kind of get his health back up, life-stealing that whole bottom lane. But what a good opening there. The move down from Darien to show up to that fight in time. The ghouls putting out so much damage. That was amazing. You see that TPA lineup really trying to use their ultimates for the engage to make that happen. Let's watch a replay and see just what those moves were. Darien really the MVP in that fight.
Пока что. Дарьян, давай, пизди. Хорош, хорош, Дарьян.
Удира лучше. Удира.
Будет за медлом, будет.
Давай, хорош.
Yes.
Дракона.
Хорош, Дарьян.
Барашка.
There you have it. Such a strong fight coming from Moscow 5, and they really controlled it from the beginning. It was an amazing thought by Taipei Assassins. The initiation from everywhere but the lane itself. The Requiem comes in, the Stand United comes on, and the only real initiation you see from bottom lane is a few steps forward so Shen can get that taunt off. Everything worked perfectly, but kudos to Moscow 5's bottom lane for getting out just an inch in time.
And that's really, there's two things to point out there as well. Is the one is you look at how well sort of coordinated M5 BenQ is. The only one even talking in that fight is Alex Ish. Everyone else knows their jobs exactly. No one has to talk. No one has to say anything because they all know each other so well. That roster is so stable that it's clear, it's concise, and it's just Alex saying, here's where we're going. Okay, Darien, cast this. Guys, go in here, go in here. And he's just the mastermind making all those calls. And that's the first team I've really seen play like that. Well, you know, a lot of them will just yell for every kill. If you listen to like CLG, actually if you listen to Curse's sort of in-game chat, you can't hear anything. I've tried.
A little aggression here on Genja, and he gets stunned up twice. A very nice job from Dazzle into Bear. And he gets pushed out of lane here. This is going to be big. Taipei needs to get some ground in these lanes.
And this is the difficulty, though, is they just try their major engage using all their main cooldowns. So they're coming back the next 30 seconds, that's a big deal. But if you saw how CLG EU did it, is they actually counter-engaged with Requiem. They actually let the fights come to them and then turn them around. Now, I think TPA should put the aggression on. I think they have the team for it. But that's really the difference here, is that if you're kind of going in with those spells, it's much harder to turn those fights around.
See the blue buff going out. Alex Ish grabs it away, doesn't even have smite. 15 minutes into the game, Gosu Pepper goes down for this, so kind of a back and forth there. You did lose a champion. It's going to be a kill coming up, I believe, for Bebe there, or Bebe rather, so he's going to be getting himself some gold. Both the AD carries kind of building up the same way as Kog'Maw, that cheaper build as well, coming in with the Zeal, able to use that W Bio-Arcane Barrage percentage health damage that you're always going to be doing. However, that only comes up every so often, so you'll see him trying to get himself within range in the fight. Coming up from the backside, here's the assassination. Up until mid-game, Alex Ish doesn't want to fight, but there you can see just how aggressive he is once he gets the chance.
Once again, it's going to be how he plays that matchup. He is an assassin against a mage with not a lot of defensive escape tools. It's going to be kind of over and over that kind of story. And now next time, Stand United will not be back up. Alex Ish on Evelyn only has 45 seconds to go until that ult is back up. Meanwhile, it's more like 2.5 minutes here for Stanley on Shen, and that is a mismatch that M5 is going to need to do. You heard Jat during the WE-CLG match where he was saying that you know, they've got to put those windows in between Karthus ults.
The teleport coming in, Toyz now coming out as well, and here the Wall of Pain takes down Gosu. The Wall of Pain is down. Genja's going to be able to run out, and he just continues to lose his support. Obviously, he's happy to not go down, but that is going to continuously feed that bottom lane.
That's exactly fine, and every single time, you know, it's a 3-on-2. You don't need to focus the carry. Do not get caught up in the fact that kills are for shutdowns. Kills are for golds. In a team fight, kills are for shutdowns because you don't want them fighting you. But as far as ganks are concerned, ganks are there to just give yourself and your teammates 300 gold and split that 58% assist gold with everyone else who's in that fight. That's what it's for. It's there to get Toyz farmed because he knows that mid lane, it's risky. Alex has his ult back up. Now, he's got no ignite, but he's going to have enough damage here, Sorcerer's Shoes, and a lot of extra ability power to keep putting that pressure and really make life super, super miserable here for Toyz.
Freak, I think this is one of the times like we've seen either of these teams not start dictating fights, you know, before towers have gone down. They're staying in their lanes. There's been only ganks. Usually we see a huge tower dive coming in. Genja face checking the bushes. They go in without any vision, and it's going to be huge. The Requiem comes down onto Genja. They give mistake against the wall, but he's forced to dash away. Beautiful job knowing he could do the damage there as he dazzled mistakes, or he rather condemned mistakes so he could not dazzle and got some extra damage in. These guys really playing their mechanics to the top of their limit. 8 kills into this game. It's 5-3 in favor of M5 BenQ as they continue their aggression. There's really no snowball to either team. About of a 3K gold lead here. Genja once again stunned up. They can't get inside for Bear stance. His flash was up, and that could have been a considerable kill for them.
That was really risky overall. You just see Genja kind of playing this matchup by the skin of his teeth right there, using Summoner Heal to bait out the flash from Bebe. And as soon as he came in there, he was like, Summoner Heal, fight me. And Bebe was like, no, we're good, thanks. And just simply back off from that one. But that's kind of the gameplay you're going to see from M5. They're going to fight these very sort of neck-and-neck, tooth-and-nail battles that are just extremely close overall. And the way they're going to really tip is if Alex gets to finally roam. He's not been able to run into these matchups very much. He's been fighting his lane opponent, stalking Toyz here in the jungle. This could be good for him.
Toyz not really catching him there. Huge damage coming out from Alex Ish. Will he flash over for the kill? And it looks like he may be able to get Landmass Q out. He lands it, makes it out alive.
Alex playing that one right. Again, he's got the Deathfire Grasp picked up there. It's exactly what he wanted to do, was simply turn those around and just assassinate Toyz. And you look at Toyz' build, he's got those flat magic resist blitz, he's got a lot of ages, but he needs more. He needs some actual magic resist. Normally you see a Rabbidan's Death Cat come out next, but right now he needs a Negatron Cloak. He needs to not get one-shotted by Alex in lane, because that will keep happening every minute.
Oh, Bebe not looking so good right here, but the Condemn just going off a little bit, and it pushes him towards his turret. That's not really going to be an initiation here for TPA. Good damage coming out, however, from Bebe. He did get that BF sword. He knew he needed damage versus the Silver Bolts of Vayne. That right into Phantom Dancer was not going to work for them, although would help to shred those tanky champions coming in. And there it is, the initiation onto Genja, the Ice Blast to Bebe so he can't attack, just back and forth. Great job down bottom, but TPA continuing the aggression as well, so great job from them.
And there is a lot of poke potential there. Anytime Dazzle lands, Bebe is guaranteed to land that the arcane, the ultimate there, the living artillery as it's called, to get some free harass down. That last time I thought he would have landed that for a couple hundred damage right there. There's not a lot of sustain overall on Genja. You see, two sort of builds there from Vayne. One of the main ones is rushing Bloodthirster, and that lifesteal would really keep Genja alive. But as you're seeing here, as he fights the Lizard buff, there's not a lot of lifesteal for him. He's just got those two Doran's blades, so that poke will stick around quite a bit onto Vayne. They should keep that pressure going.
A few of the turrets now pretty hurt for Moscow 5, meaning those prep turrets could really mean a lot after an objective fight here if it can be forced by Taipei Assassins in the right formation. They will be able to push that mid turret. Don't know how hurt that top turret is. It's actually still got some health. You can see Darien doing very well in his lane. Now Genja and Gosu Pepper trying to defend theirs as well. It is not too hurt, so they have a good lane going down bottom. A lane that can both get Genja farmed as well as keep Gosu somewhat alive. He's gone down quite a bit for his team this game. The only one to have the 3 kills on that board, and that's the person they want dying if somebody's going to go down. So they've done it in the correct fashion if it were to happen.
Mistake just waiting around trying to find Gosu Pepper out. The ultimates are at both Requiem and Stand United. TPA is going to look for another fight as Evelyn comes from the back. Expect all ults to be burned. TPA, they could be okay. Actually, Lilballz waiting around. If they go in, he's going to be in good shape.
Yeah, that teleport's just coming up for TPA Toyz. Here we go, though, on the Bebe. So much damage. He tries to cleanse. He looks like he's going to make it out of this one. Just on the outside of Gosu's absolute zero. They do a ton of damage. TPA cannot stay in the fight with the amount coming out from Genja. He is just able to focus whoever he wants from the backside. And you can see Diamond creating such a frontline presence.
Wow, so much damage was available there. I can't believe that turned as easily as it did. With Stanley there, Lilballz there, everyone there to tank, it just did not matter. They just completely burned through Tarek's health bar, no matter what. Happy to kill support, happy to bring everyone's health bar down and simply make the fight happen. Darien did not have to be involved whatsoever, and they still won that in a 4v4.
Slowing down Toyz. No, they do not choose to initiate. There's too much turret damage to be had. They played that one smart. Toyz as well, trying to keep himself safe here with Lilballz. They're going to have to watch this turret go down. The first turret of the game, 22 minutes in. I think that may be the longest time it's taken for our turrets to fall. Moscow 5 Ben Q and Taipei Assassins playing a very cautious semifinal matchup.
Yeah, they really do not want to overextend, because if someone does move in a little bit too far, there is so much chase potential on both sides. I mean, you look at the M5 lineup. If someone overextends, they've got Vayne with Blood Boil, who will chase that guy to the ends of the earth. You've got so much flow coming out from Nunu and from York together that no one's going to get away if they overextend. Meanwhile, the same thing is there for TPA. Shen, Tarek, Udyr, that person is going to get completely locked upon, just locked down really, and then everyone else is going to fire upon him, and Karthus and Kog'Maw will have a lot of damage on the front line. Both these teams are about just enough disruption, that the back line can just shred people down. So you're seeing more ganks than turret pushes, because turret pushes can be countered with ganks. They kind of they have more of those questions answered and can kind of push through a little bit more safely.
So Freak, let's take a look at these builds. We do see that Stanley is going for possible late game Frozen Mallet, but switched over to go for that Wit's End to stop the damage coming in from Eve. Usually we'll see that tanky top laner take the role of, as I just said, the tank, but we look over to Darien's side. He's gone for Triforce. Nobody on their team is really building to be that single tank. Is their amount of power really allowing them? Well, Alex, he's coming in huge right here on the top turret. It has been prepped to be taken down, but his focus is only Stanley coming up with the kill and able to make it out. 8-3. Alex again providing for himself.
And just over and over, he's got a safe lane, just turns it around to gold.
Here comes the absolute zero. Big damage on Mistake and Prox. Another shot could come in. He might leave this one to Diamond. Mistake is not the focus anymore. Lilballz gets taken down as he tries to come in. Darien picking that one up. And again, they'll get another one. It's going to be Mistake as well. Here comes Toyz. Toyz could get dropped. The heal coming out. If he can turn and fire, they may be able to stop it, but there's no mana. It's only going to be Toyz having his way with bottom lane now. The 4 for 2 or 4 for 1. Alex stays alive.
And he's just having a field day here, constantly pushing through on this map. They're making a lot of difficulties here. Alex is not getting shut down. He rushed that Deathfire Grasp. He used it to great effect, picking up kills on Toyz, I think twice in a row now, just kind of soloing him out in that lane and making a lot of pressure happen overall, and he's been able to roam. He's been able to show up to those fights. The kills at bottom lane where they picked up Mistake and put some pressure on the turret right after. You know, the pressure of that top lane, diving Stanley, you know, pretty tanky Shen under his turret, and it's interesting because that's like the one downside you would expect to see from Shen going double gold per 10 is he would have a bit of a weak mid game as he waits for that gold to kick in, and just, you know, would you know it, Alex shows up and capitalizes on that disadvantage. We're seeing a complete repeat of his first Evelyn game, I should say, and just picking up kill after kill on the opposition.
And a huge item coming out from Darien here. Actually just picked up his Guardian Angel. Always focusing his ult onto somebody else now. Doesn't even have to worry about himself. Is really taking that top lane. 209 minion kills to 137. And as I said before, Freak, he's had such a good lane, he's not even needing to build the HP for that lane. You can see, as we were saying and poking at before, Shen having to go for Wit's End for the magic mitigation, as well as that phase to build into the Frozen Mallet later for that health. What's the advantage of just having Darien not have to do that? It's always damage coming from that lane now.
It's interesting because I guess, you know, because he got those early kills, he's able to push forward. Rushing that Trinity Force allowed him to really be a huge menace overall in battles. It let him out-duel Stanley, pretty much. It let him to kind of stop counter pushes.
You see the wall of pain going down, and you can see the confidence coming from Moscow 5. They are waltzing through this fight right now. Taipei Assassins with Darien on the outside. 4v1 right now. Darien taking all the hits. The Guardian Angel not even popped. We see Alex Nash going into the middle of the fight. Mistake could go down here. He will fall to Genja. We see coming up huge. Bebe onto Alex. That area of effect damage not going to be coming out for them anymore, and they are forced out of this fight. TPA using the turret to their advantage here. A good kill coming out from Darien as he takes down Lilballz, but the chase is on. Bebe does have that blue buff. He just decides to turn, though, as both teams just go in an all-out fight regardless of the area around them or the situation of the turret.
This is one thing that M5 is best at overall, is they are so supremely good at getting into fights just long enough. If you actually just sat there watching Darien the entire time and it's like, yes, I'm in the front line, fight me, I'm Guardian Angel Yorick, fight me, I dare you, keep, go for it. Pop the Guardian Angel, don't mind if I do, fight me, do all the damage, haha, we killed your carries, and then got low enough and just walked right out. His Guardian Angel is going to recharge over time. That cooldown is going to come back up. I think he might, you know, and he had the self-control to say, yes, I will happily lose my Guardian Angel. He will tunnel vision me, and you will kill the very tanky Yorick. Next fight, I won't be quite as reckless. I'll get down to 10%, and I'll walk out. I'll ult someone, I'll walk out. It won't be a big deal. No big worries here from Darien. He's going to have that kind of gameplay where he's going to be very comfortable in his own skin, knows that there's no surprises really in store, right? No one's going to pick him out of nowhere. He knows the kind of damage Bebe's putting out. He knows how much damage Kog'Maw can deal. He knows what Toyz can deal. He knows, yeah, okay, you've got Requiem, that's nice, but then no one else is going to chase him out. So he can walk out of those fights so securely and just tank damage. And because he has Trinity Force, because he has those duels, he will actually be a pretty reasonable damage threat. By picking up that Triforce, it gives him just enough presence to say, yes, here's the damage output that you actually care about. If I go for a squishy, he'll actually take damage. You must actually deal with me even though you don't want to. Even though I'm Guardian Angel Yorick, you must deal with me. You must focus me and push me out.
Yeah, Freak, that's something actually we talked about with Dan Din earlier and how Moscow 5 BenQ approaches fights. They leave a few that can take the area of effect cooldowns away, causing the other team to only have pinpoint focus attacks. That's when they go in. They leave a few people to take away some area of effect, another few, they go into the fight. We saw that happen. You just explained. Darien, I'll take all the damage. Alex Ish flashed right into the fight. Both of those were wasting so many cooldowns while staying alive and able to trade back. This has brought them now 13-6. They have an over 10,000 gold lead just about, and it's going to be 28 minutes into the matchup. This spells Baron.
M5 gonna make a good move for this. I think they're more trying to bait a battle out here. They were trying to sneak it because they only sent 3 members there. They wanted to try to put some damage in. They had ward coverage. They needed to get back out pretty safely, but Alex on the flank.
Alex is coming in from behind. This is what we said he would do. He goes away from Toyz. You can see him just blowing all the cooldowns. They've separated from the fight. Genja as well, or Bebe rather. Bebe trying to come in with that passive. The Requiem goes down, and it's not going to be enough damage. Genja more than happy to stay in the fight. Fires down on Lilballz. Mistake is in his eyes next. Gets the double kill, the triple kill. No, Alex, he's picking up Shen, and they're going to have an open turret for that first inhibitor in mid, but it looks like they're making a straight beeline for Baron.
That is the right play. Once again, they had simply separated the champions perfectly. You saw Diamond kind of go in and out against Toyz and Karthus, and it simply kind of require him to stand there out of range of anyone else. It was his perfect positioning. It's a free push onto Baron, of course, with no one else alive. They don't need to wait around for Darien to revive. It's not that big of a deal. They'll simply pick up the buff, pick up the golden experience, walk themselves back out very safely. They've got time to recall. Not a big deal. His replay is coming out. Let's see exactly what went down. Now watch Diamond. He comes in, knocks up Toyz, walks back out. Toyz cannot do anything in this fight. He's simply unable to do much damage. Finally gets shut down. Still not in range of anyone. Now watch Darien at the bottom. Genja. Genja's got no one to focus him. Easy kill on Lilballz. No one there to touch Vayne. Walks up. Mistake. Not a problem. Stanley, the last one alive on Shen. They focus the targets. And they focus the carries properly. Bebe went down first. Toyz went down second. Lilballz went down third. And then Mistake and Stanley, the tanks, went down last. They had exact perfect target prioritization. Alex flanked around the back, bursted Toyz, prevented Toyz from getting himself in the middle of the fray, and Genja, playing his champion right, said, yes, if I'm stuck near a Karthus, it will suck, so I won't be anywhere near Karthus, thank you very much. We'll kill Bebe, I'll come from around the side, you guys do with Karthus, I'll kill things on the other side of the map.
Team Guardian Angel now coming into play for M5 BenQ. They are starting to support those around. It looks like Diamond is trying to get his up there quite soon as well. He does have the chain vest. They have pushed TPA back into their base. Moscow 5 now controls the team fights within this game. Genja, Gosu, Pepper, and Diamond still holding that Baron buff. Very strong in their own rights. With Darien on the front side, the Guardian Angel just about to come back up for him in about 5 seconds. This is why he's pushing the turret so hard. If it comes back in this fight, it's going to be huge. There's so much focus on him, and they're not going to see it come back up. Bebe going down, has to cleanse out of this one. Toyz is just standing there doing so much damage. It doesn't look like the focus is that right for Moscow 5, but they're avoiding all the damage that they need to. An ace coming out for them, a triple kill coming out for Genja. And it looks like they may be able to push on to the Nexus turrets in this one. They have a lot of tank behind their champions. Diamond and Gosu on the front. The first Nexus turret goes down 23-7, 31 minutes into the game. That's all Moscow 5 needed for game 1 as they take it from TPA.
What a perfect play right there. That was amazing. M5 BenQ, the assassin composition did what it was supposed to do. It exactly did what they wanted. And this, you know, it worked out better than I thought it would. And in retrospect, of course it makes sense. You look at what Diamond did on Xin Zhao. Now, this was a champion with this comp that was on Darien before. And Darien, when he was top lane of Xin Zhao, had a bad start, went Sunfire Cape, you know, tried to be a tank and just sort of survive for the team. Right. And Alex had the gold. Alex, you had the Deathfire Grasp, he put all the damage down, he was there to shut down Kog'Maw. Well, you had the same kind of situation, really, where you had, you know, a decent game from Diamond, 2-0 and 15. He got some gold, not super farmed, but again, if you have tank Xin Zhao and he did enough damage, you know, low gold Xin Zhao really has the same damage because you didn't buy damage items the first time, so he actually performed the exact same role. Jumped in there, pressed Crescent Sweep, got some armor and MR for pressing that button, dealing a lot of damage, and just went through and tried to focus down on Kog. And Alex, again, a similarly rough start to his early game, got a lot of damage taken to him, you know, very, very rough start, but still pick up Deathfire Grasp, still dominant through the mid game, still a stellar performance going 5-1 and 10, performed the exact same role. I made sure I watched Kog'Maw in that last fight, and Bebe, he didn't make any mistakes. He was in the back line, he hit who he could, but the front line of
jumped super hard.
Yorick, like Diamond super farmed, you know, in the end, or at least super tanky. Gosu Pepper on Nunu, like, what's he going to focus? There's nothing there to even attack. Even a Guardian Angel was there on Evelyn. Like, there's nothing for him to kill. He swung as much as he could. Nothing took enough damage. Burst from Evelyn, burst from Xin Zhao, ran backwards, took another set of damage to the face. You actually saw Yorick flash into him to land more abilities, and then he dropped. And there's nothing there for him to survive. Now you could say that Stanley could have used use Stand United at some point there on Shen. That would have given him a couple more seconds to survive, but by that point, everyone else was already still dead. That front line was tanky enough. It was brutal. Let's watch that last fight, and actually this time I'm going to watch Genja and see what he did to keep himself alive. Come in here, just watch him on the backside. There's the invisibility jumping in. Look at that focus, forces Stanley away, drops him down, still on the outside. Focuses Lilballz, no big deal, kills him. Toyz still outside of defile range, completely immune to counterattacks. Genja not once was even attacked in that battle. His front line was voracious, just shoved themselves in there, and he said, yep, I'll kill a tank, yep, I'll kill a tank, just kept going through on individual targets, and there was nothing there to dive him, because there were the assassins in front causing way too much havoc. And that kind of goes to prove the best defense is a good offense, because when Sinjao is diving your face, you're not worried about Vayne anymore, you're worried about not dying. And you will die anyway, because holy cow, will an ulted Vayne crush your team.
You know, Freak, it really comes back to the window that Moscow 5 was able to play with late game. They just have to fight without Stand United up, without Teleport up, and without Requiem up. Or vice versa, 2 out of 3, 1 out of the 3. The pressure they continue to have, like I said, Alex Ish going to come in. He is going to be the hard initiation. Deathfire Grass, explode your face, and you have no idea what happened. You're just left clicking buttons to try and do something in Death Defy form. That was pretty much the game coming from Karthus. So they just came in so strong every time and understood those windows, understood they weren't going to get a teleport or a Stand United. And we even saw in that last fight, there wasn't even enough time for Stanley to Stand United because he still has it up.
Yeah, he was killed right away. And M5, I think, they're the first team I've seen actually play around Stand United and play around Requiem perfectly.
Right.
I never saw a single instance of them getting into a fight and being like, oh, right, Karthus pressed R. Double kill. Never once, never once. They knew it was there every single time. I never, ever saw them get caught out. When you looked at CLG versus WE, they would get into those fights, a guy would run back and it was like, oh, right, of course, and then 200 damage and the guy dies. And you've seen that with Shen as well, where they will dive onto a turret and get that shield and be like, oh, crud, I forgot that shield's there. I mean, you saw Alex Ish try to dive Karthus around level 6 or 7, and the Stand United came and he was like, great, Stand United, I'm going to walk out, I'm not going to overcommit, no big deal, and happily just wasted that cooldown. Again, those Requiems never turning around for kills. And I can't stress this enough, M5 played around globals so well, they were never caught out by them. They never overextended and forgot that they existed. And it forced TPA to actually use them offensively. It forced them to say, hey guys, team fight starting, Requiem. And M5 was like, okay, so Requiem's being used. Great, okay, 200 damage, thank you very much. We'll continue on now, thank you, because our health pools are still here. And then there were no surprises left. M5 never got caught out by those globals. I mean, they really seem like the most well-rehearsed team here. I liked everything they did in that game.
Guys, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back after this with a do-or-die semifinal game 2 between Moscow 5 Ben Q and Taipei Assassins. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the live USC Galen Center matchups we have going here for the League of Legends Championship Playoffs. We're into our semifinal matchups right now. Moscow 5 Ben Q taking on Taipei Assassins. Our first matchup left Moscow 5 guessing right in the beginning, but they figured out the lane swap really wasn't anything that was going to throw them off guard. Just left Gosu Pepper to do a little roaming early, and then they were able to start off with some really nice Barons, some great dragon control, and to continue the match to a W.
And this matchup was really two people holding that early game down. It was Diamond preparing for that really big... I mean, it was the first blood gank onto Karthus, setting up Genja for a great start, and it was preparing for that counter gank that was a 3-man dive in mid. He got the first 3-man dive for the kill. He was there for the second one, stopped Lilballz' mistake from getting that kill onto Alex Ish, and so he made some really, really great moves in that isolated lane. Darien, he was left to himself, and he did win that. It started out a little bit rough. He was down in minions, but he started picking up kills, and Darien came down and picked up that triple kill at the bottom matchup, and that really set them apart because he was such a huge tank that he got so far ahead in items that he was no longer really threatened by anyone on that roster anymore. Darien was happy to walk into the front, take the damage, get killed by Kog'Maw, but set up the rest of that fight. So those two members, huge for them.
So ladies and gentlemen, throughout the tournament, we've been spotlighting playmakers on each team, figuring out who's doing the best and who's going to give us some great stories throughout this championship. In this next piece, we caught up with Moscow 5 Ben Q as they spoke about Darien, who we were just speaking about, having such a great game as well, and how they harness the power of his unique playstyle. Let's check it out.
Darien, solo top.
Darien's the top laner for Moscow 5.
Darien's one of these players that have always had a bit of an attitude about him.
Darien is an absolutely fearsome top laner.
Ну, он иногда любит повыпендриваться, особенно это иногда, так сказать, раздражает, когда особенно мы проигрываем. Он такой включает мод «мне пофигу» и, так сказать, ведет какую-то свою игру. Ну а так, в целом, он адекватный. Если его заставить нужное время и поговорить с ним, то можно ему что-нибудь свое объяснить и заставить его, так сказать, нормально сыграть. Ну, а так как игрок, он вполне как бы хорошо нажимает кнопочки. И, в общем, он нас вполне устраивает.
He really just dominates his lane in a lot of situations.
The first time we saw Darien on LAN at IEM Kiev, he pretty much forced bans from the enemy team. His top champions are fearsome and can take over a match.
Darien is one of those players that he'll either win the lane, in which case Moscow 5 will destroy the opposition, or he'll lose the lane, in which case he'll farm and the rest of the team will just carry on doing what they do, and then he'll come back and they'll destroy the opposition.
Ну, вообще, что вразумить? Если, как показала сегодняшняя игра, мы его не особо вразумили, поэтому мы, так сказать, надеемся, что он сам себя вразумит и сыграет достойно, попытается, так сказать, ну, так сказать, так много не умирать и не подводить нас, и не делать игру тяжелее, как это было сделано сегодня. Так, ничего мы ему не можем сказать.
Ну, сделать можно многое, но команда меня заверяет, что 0 во второй графе — это все, что от меня требуется.
So everyone, you can see some caveats in everybody's play, but they love the guy because he can press the buttons really well.
He presses the buttons really well. I can do that too. If you give me Sona, my face will hit the keyboard and I will just cast every ability perfectly.
I want to play with this guy.
#1 Sona, NA. Just do this and I'll win all the games. I'm great. Anyway, we're in a champion select, so we should move on, and our jokes are horrible.
All right, guys, let's see what we got for the champion select. Obviously, Mistakes, Blitzcrank, and Diamondprox Lee Sin find themselves on the bench.
Yeah, so these guys right away actually starting with similar openings here. I think that they... Honestly, if I'm TPA, I'm actually pretty satisfied with the champions that came out there. I think there were just a couple of play mistakes that really screwed them over. With the exception, of course, and this is exactly what IG did, is like, you know what, you're right. Evelyn really is terrifying. We should probably remove that champion. Otherwise, though, I think they're happy with everything else. I think they have the tools that can kill off Vayne. I think they're okay with Nunu, or will first pick Nunu, not have a big deal. They might actually kill off Yorick, but that's the only other ban I could see them going as an adaptation. I think everything else was not too terrifying for them in the matchup so far.
We'll have to see what they do. That Jace gets banned out as well. A very hard champion to gank. TPA is very good at being able to get out of their lanes. Very slippery. Sona goes out as well. So we said don't try to ban them out, but it looks like they're trying to poke at some of the compositions that would be created by these champions.
Yeah, M5, that last ban on Nunu was a reaction to the Sona ban because I think they were really thinking about, you know, M5 seems to really prioritize first picking that support. You saw them first pick Nunu last game. They were really trying to set themselves up for really strong lanes there and left everything else out there. And so that, you know, that makes a lot of sense. They're trying to give themselves some really good presence overall in that matchup. But, you know, dropping out that final support, you know, Zyra's, of course, still available there. And it looks like they're going to grab Diamond up there onto Udyr. Now, he was Sinjao last time. It fit the composition pretty well. This time, they're saying, you know what? Lee Sin's dropped out. They ran Udyr against SK Gaming very successfully in the European regional. So, of course, no screener to that champion. Might just bring that back out again.
Have to see what they do. TPA going with somewhat of a safe strategy / will be able to fight for quite some time. That Orianna always giving a team quite a bit of utility and movement in a fight to get in or out. Looks like they did like the Yorick pick last time. Into that Guardian Angel makes him one of the most formidable champions to be messing with the double comeback to life. They do lock in the Kog'Maw. They're looking for that late game damage again, Freak, and they're still waiting for that Darien lock-in.
That makes a lot of sense. Once they started looking at Yorick, I was like, you know, when you see an Orianna in there, Orianna always screams protect the X.
Yeah,
she's an amazingly dominant, you know, mid lane mage, but transitions into a very powerful support by the end. And it, of course, still has a damage output, but is really good at keeping someone alive. There's a lot of disruption there, some shields, things like that. And as soon as you see Orianna, you've got to start thinking about champions like Kog'Maw or Vayne who are going to really scale throughout that match and require protection, but if they're protected, kill people really hard. When M5 looked at Yorick, I was like, well, Yorick is another protect the X champion. Yorick, in fact, revives X and makes Kog'Maw or Vayne come back to life and keep dominating. Now, Genja was never really killed in that last match, so it didn't matter too much, but you always have that for the backup option and can be really powerful. So they've both denied Kog'Maw and given themselves a synergy with Kog'Maw. This had to have been a champion select adaptation from M5 to pick it so early.
We're seeing some champions we have seen recently and some solo queue play as well. And we're going to see it locked in actually as Tarek still staying on the cold side. Toyz picking up Tarek for his team. Lilballz goes for the safe support jungler Maokai, looking to really set up the ganks instead of getting for himself or his lanes.
I don't actually like these picks here from TPA going Maokai, Tarek. I would have really liked to see something like Nocturne Leona or Shyvana, something like that. You know, Shyvana Orianna, an amazing combo as well to open up because they already know they're against a crazy fearsome backline with Yorick Cog. Now maybe they're trying to like withstand Yorick clone plus Cogma damage output with Maokai, and it can make sense, right? If you have, you know, Tarek up there with the Shadow Aura, 30 armor to nearby teammates, Maokai's Vengeful Maelstrom, minus 20% damage as long as you're standing in the area, Orianna's Ball grants a shield and bonus armor MR, so maybe they're trying to just like tank through the Yorick ultimate and tank through Cogma, but that means they've got to really be able to sit there in a group and not worry about the rest of that damage output. That's worrisome because who's going to do the damage on the backline here for TPA instead of going for something assassin-based? So it's a little bit risky, but you know, we'll see what happens here. M5 only their support left to pick, and they've grabbed Zilean you know, really early on, and that's without a hyper-scaling and a hyper-carry top laner.
Yeah, I feel like TPA is really building for the team fights here. Every one of those champions that they have is going to be able to assist in that team fight. The Shatter, the Command Shockwave, as well as Lilballz ult, so that's going to be huge for them. Alex Yeesh going for that Zilean once again. We did see him play this in the tournament. This is really also a protect the cog. They can get him in and out, or well, start with Genja on the initiation, depending on who they choose as well for Gosu. We'll have to see. You got Vayne being picked out, as well as Mistake holding on that top laner right now. He will be going onto Tarek, but he's going to be choosing out that Nidalee.
And yeah, there is that support Zyra here. So this is really, it's really crazy because you've actually got both team comps going protect the carry. You've got Taipei Assassins, you've got Stanley on Nidalee. It's a heal and an attack speed buff. Tarek, a decent enough front line. Maokai, a front line. Orianna able to provide shield and durability. And it's just like, guys, let's all just put our cards, let's put our eggs in a BB's basket. Let's give him a nice big backpack. Let's ride in that and hope he can carry us to victory. Because this is really just a team that says, good luck, BB, we're relying on you. And it's really kind of the same thing here for M5 Ben Q, because they didn't go for like, and normally when we see Zilean from Alex Yeesh, it's because they have Jax or they have Olaf on that lineup, where, you know, yeah, they've got Genja in the back line being awesome as that carry, but they've got a big frontline tank, you know, running in with bonus movement speed, running in with that revive, and just chopping someone to bits. They don't have that. That Udyr's going to be useful, he's going to be disruptive, but it's jungle Udyr. He's not going to have crazy farm and be a super beast. And it's York. We saw York last time, did not need help to be tanky. He just went Guardian Angel, went Trinity Force, was beefy in the front line, didn't require anything special. They don't have reckless aggressors here on M5. They've got just a front line that says don't walk past us, and Kog'Maw in the background killing people. And if he does go down and die, they do have Zilean to revive him. So both these teams going a little bit light on damage and saying, okay, BB, okay, Genja, it's on you.
Not that I'm, you know, I don't know very much for Stanley's top Nidalee play, but I feel like they've forced themselves into a composition that wants to use everything from their champions. And if they don't get that right on Taipei's side, you know, if Nidalee can't get in there, yeah, she's going to want to be able to throw heals on Vayne, get that attack speed up, get other things happening, get that shield. So I think if those don't correlate for them within this matchup, they're going to find themselves coming up short. A lot of their initiations last game on Moscow 5 that was 100% ready, that Stand United Requiem attack bottom was an amazing engage by Taipei Assassins and would have taken 99% of any professional player off guard. But Moscow 5 on their game is ready for these little things that Taipei Assassins is going to have to do to really get their composition to come to fruition.
And so here we are. The game is started. Let's get ready for Game 2 of these semifinals. This is do or die for Taipei Assassins. You see them on your screen. They are down 0-1. The Galen Center getting prepared for the World Finals to take place on Saturday. Moscow 5 Ben Q. They are one game away from qualifying themselves for that grand final. It's 1-0 in this best of 3. They are winning in this matchup. M5 wants this. TPA needs this to stay alive.
Getting that sapling pull. There's going to be a little bit of an invasion here as they saw Darien leaving the bush. They're being very quick on this as well. They have given up the fact that they are now in the jungle, and we're going to see a rotation here that top side. Moscow 5 is going to start going after the other blue as well. TPA is going back, though. Freak, this could completely be a strategy where they push that in there, and then they're going to be waiting for this fight. However, they don't know how many members are on the other side, so they're really walking into danger here.
Oh, they got spotted. I mean, their opening play was really cool. Use saplings, use traps, put some wards down. Make sure you keep track of the opposition. They know their level 1 is so much stronger. And they've got the stun on the Gosu Pepper.
Gosu not looking good, and this may be the first blood coming out, and Bebe comes up strong. A full assist to the rest of the team.
He's not even going to bother casting the passive. Finally deals, shoots it out at the end. No kill there. Great moves by TP. I'm surprised they picked that up, though, because they got spotted by Zilean on the way through mid. Gosu should have known they were coming across right there, but still a great initiation coming out overall. And, you know, I'm looking at this roster, and yeah, it took like one flash to make that happen. I mean, really good opening. TPA off in the driver's seat. They did get that 400 gold to Bebe, but the one thing to remember is he has not spent that gold yet. Bebe does not have that gold in his he has the gold in his pockets, but not on his character. So that level 1 fight, that top lane's still going to be just the same as always.
Great farming help coming in. They're trying to get the junglers through as fast as possible. You do see the smite is down onto Diamond, and he holds his smite on Lilballz, so he's going to be looking to get around the jungle and get out quite quickly. With that assist, it's going to help him get those items that he needs to keep scaling, into this game. Looks like we do have boots pots going on to Gosu. He blew one of those as he went down, so that lane is going to be aggressive, but they're going to be looking for fast kills and then to get back out. Freak, they have no vision to be safe in that lane. 2 minutes and 30 seconds in, another invasion coming in here. The red buff dot, or the dot, is still there for Diamond. He can see that they're taking this because the skull is still on the map for him. He looks to go in. He will not be able to get it. It goes to Maokai, and they're going to be forced. No, actually, Lilballz, or he did get that, sorry. Diamond does pick up his red buff. They take out Mistake in this situation. Alex coming up with a kill for himself. Genja forcing himself into this fight, flashing over the wall. And Bebe rather could pick himself up a kill here. Beautiful shield coming from Orianna.
And that makes it 3-1 overall. These invasions so strong from TPA. We said they had a better level 1 team. They're happy to invade, and they're just pushing for it. I'm so actually surprised that M5 said, you know what, yeah, let's keep fighting you at level 1. Let's please put ourselves in these terrible situations. We're about to get picked off. And that was brutal overall. So much damage dealt back onto them. Poor Gosu Pepper still not even level 2. You know, the rank 1 Stranglethorns is nice, but not putting out a lot of punishment overall. That was pretty risky. This opening for TPA so good.
Very scary. Bebe now 2-0-1 as Vayne this early in the game. Vayne is a late game carry, but will still put out the pain if given the chance to do so within these early levels. Only 4 minutes into the game, Gosu trying to throw out the harassment. They know they don't have too much control over that lane, as I said before, with the wards, so they're really trying to push these guys out of lane as much as possible. So if there is a gank, they're not affected by it as much. Zilean, Alex Ish playing the role for everybody on his team, and really everybody is assisting each other right now.
The one thing that M5 needs to do right here is to realize that Bebe has still not gotten back to lane to buy any items. So despite all these kills, despite everything, at this second, he's on equal footing to Genja. I guess I'd call it the top lane, but those dual lanes there are identical right now as far as power is concerned. There's a little bit of experience in the lead, but that's about it. The golden items, it's a wash right there. And so M5 needs to hold them in lane as long as possible and keep Vayne from buying. The second she buys, she's dominant in lane.
These are where the words would come into play. Gosu could find himself out, but he calls the time in his head and says, he feels right for Lilballz. We've seen him around the jungle. I'm going to time this seedling and throw it in the bush. Really throwing Lilballz off there, but he still has a chance to come around the backside. You can see the cautious play. Mistake a little too aggressive there and really telegraphs this one in. No chance for an attack on them.
But they can perfectly zone this lane. You look at the minion wave, and actually, it's now actually bigger on TPA's side, so it will push to the turret, and so M5 can kind of sit on their heels and wait. They won't lose too many minions if they just simply wait in the background and let it push to their turret. Because the wave is so much larger on the other side, you're not expecting to have your minions really pick off too much in that wave, and they'll be pretty safe overall.
Alex Ish getting a little harassment done to him, but Diamondprox perfectly there as he makes his way through the jungle. That's really not what TPA needs. The huge attack onto Bebe out top. He pushes back Genja. Great mechanics to really push out the damage that's going to be coming at him in the fight. Stanley putting aggression down bottom here. 3-1 in this matchup. The gold, like I said, going to Vayne. But Freak mentioned she has not bought yet, so the aggression in the lane can really be thwarted if Diamond finds himself top at the right time. A lot of mana being used here by Alex Ish. He's going to be thrown in, but Diamond's there once again. The 3v2 situation, rather. Alex not in a good position, not level 6, and he will go down. Diamond cannot assist.
And that is, again, them putting the pressure on over and over and over again. And this is really, really good. Lilballz with so much crowd control. And the beautiful thing was they pulled Mistake down to support mid once they sent Bebe to go back and recall and buy items. That Mistake says, you know what? I don't have too much money. I don't need to buy just yet. It's not that big of a deal. It's only 400 gold. While you go buy Bebe, I'm going to go support someone else on the map. Let's put a gank together. Let's go ahead and make this happen. Let's make that fight go down. And look at that, a beautiful start.
Oh, wow. They get Genja right out. They are able to take him down. Mistake picking himself up a kill. Bebe kind of focusing back there. They may be able to get another kill. They forced a flash on Gosu. That's going to be quite big for them. This lane can now continuously be aggressive, Freak.
The mechanic there for TPA was really, really strong. After that first kill, notice that Mistake walked forward and made sure he pulled turret aggro. As soon as a turret hits a champion, it will stay on that champion until he leaves range, no matter what. No matter if someone swings at you, no matter whatever happens, until that guy dies or leaves range, it will stay on Mistake. And so he sat there and said, yes, hit me, hit me, hit me. He, and Gosu Pepper knew he had to flash to escape that because Vayne would have kept stutter stepping, walking over and swinging, walking and swinging, walking and swinging. He was 3 hits from getting the kill, forced the flash. At that point, there was too much pressure required. He got out.
Stanley going aggressive on Darien here. You can see the sustain coming into play a bit as they damage trade equally. You can see just how confident Taipei Assassins is right now with a few of their purchases. Quick chalice buys going in both lanes of Stanley as well as Toyz. The boots of mobility onto Maokai as well. Lilballz trying to get these ganks to happen more often and get them to happen in favor of his teammates. He's been doing a great job. Right now he has 4 assists. And like I said at the beginning, Freak, when you grab Maokai, it's going to be to set those lanes up for the ganks. You're grabbing all the extra gold.
Exactly. It's very ironic that when you pick a tanky jungler like Maokai, they're actually called aggressive junglers because they show up for ganks and they fight champions a lot. And they transition into tanks late game. He's so happy to get that gold, of course, because it gets his gold generation items really quickly. And actually, instead of that, he's continuing to play aggressive. He's actually going boots mobility early on instead and using that for further gank potential. Now to go through these builds some more, you're seeing kind of a sustained war there. Stanley going chalice. Uh-oh, here comes Diamond.
Toyz is on. They are going to lock him down. Command Shockwave comes out. They get a little bomb damage there. The blue buff is going to keep Toyz on the aggressive. He is going to be able to throw out a few more auto attacks. Each one scaling with a bit more damage. The Ping's top lane is they have Tart off to the side of it. Stanley trying to heal himself up in that bottom lane bush. Continuously pushing that lane. 63 to 52. The matchup still in anybody's favor there. Nobody really has the upper hand. They both have pretty good regen going down for themselves right now. And you can see him really no mana still staying in that lane. Top lane still being addressed quite a bit as the junglers both leaving their red buffs right now. You could see a little bit aggression towards that top lane. The wards are down for both teams here as they start to really figure out that the abilities are up. Everybody's starting to get their ultimates, Freak. The team fights are going to start to come to fruition a little bit here.
Yeah, I think, and then one big thing here for Stanley is he's actually got Summoner Teleport overall, so he'll be able to show up to those fights much more frequently. I think TPA definitely wants to keep moving in and put that pressure on because they want to keep the aggression going. They've got enough of an advantage. They can actually keep pushing that advantage. Vayne is such a good duelist. We talked about that in the post-game to Game 1, where Vayne was able to go on and do whatever she wanted and just simply be that queen duelist. And so they want to keep putting her in fights where she can win. They want to keep putting Toyz in those battles as well. He's got enough mana regen. He's got good enough cooldowns that he will keep putting pressure on the map as well. The overall team fight here 10 minutes into the game is just better for TPA. I think M5 would love to let this kind of sit down and, just let turrets take a bit of damage and just let that, fight equal out.
He's in a dangerous spot. He throws down the Chrono Shift. They're still attacking, and they allow him to go down. But there's a little bit of crowd control here still. Can they go for it? And they will. Drop him a second time with that Ignite on. Diamond trying to go for the kill, but Lilballz flashes out perfectly on top of the ward. The teleport comes in from Stanley, and it looks like they may continue to dive. The flash is forced out. So many summoner spells used in that fight coming into 10 minutes in the game, but TPA grabbing an upper hand there.
And they're going to keep that pressure on, that Summoner Teleport being used, forcing the flash away from Diamond, and that severely limits Diamond's opening potentials. Look at who he could gank. Trying to gank Nidalee, she can pounce away. You try to gank Orianna, she's got that command dissonance, and there's not enough crowd control from Alex Ish on Zilean to make her stop down either. You try to gank for Bebe, he's got condemned. There is really no opening for Diamond without flash. These solo lanes, or really every lane for Taipei Assassins, is safe from Udyr's pressures. And so they're going to be happy to keep scaling through this game and keep putting pressure on their lanes. Look at the minion count differences. 93 to 59, 83 to 53, 86 to 74. Even Nidalee's winning her solo lane without any aggression from other sides.
Freak, I gotta hand it to Bebe right now. He is connecting so many third silver bolts and just keeping Genja down in health. Always about 10% HP. rolling into the turret to take one shot and back out. The mechanics of Bebe right now are completely winning that lane. Stanley definitively winning his bottom lane, but now allowing Darien to farm. We said, don't focus Darien top. We have to free up Lilballz. That's not where you want to be. Darien, very much like Wicked, can be beat the entire game and still come back to be a formidable opponent towards that late game. So we'll have to see what he can do now with his turret being the first to fall, Freak.
Well, it doesn't really help him very much with that turret down. Of course, Darien now has actually even more avenues of getting jumped upon. But the thing is, TPA, they don't really want to get Stanley fed. They don't really want to shut down Darien. So even though he's available, it's not really the best place to go.
Bebe dropping out a turret up top. A lot of focus from Moscow 5 as they know they're losing turrets. They get themselves golden experience to trade that one off after a 2-turret loss. We're going to be focusing towards mid here. The pings are going down. It actually comes from their own team. TPA is just saying, I think you guys are pretty safe up there. We got vision of Moscow 5 in mid. And you can see Bebe taking some extra shots. These guys are just really playing a calm game.
And this is really, you know, the kind of play that M5 needs to make, because, you know, they know that those outer turrets will go down regardless because they know they've got absolutely no map control right now, and TPA will eventually kill those turrets regardless. So what they want to do is say, you know what, you'll kill them, I get it. While you're doing that, we're just going to set up dragon takes, because, you know, when you're down 4,000 gold, 4,000 gold means a lot when everyone's got like 10k. It's a very, very big margin, and absolutely TPA is very far ahead right now. But if everyone has 20,000 gold, or 30,000 gold, or 40,000 gold, then 4,000 gold means a lot less. And they want to reach that kind of situation. So yes, they'll trade 1,000 gold for 1,000 gold. They'll, you know, kind of get in these fights that aren't champion versus champion. You know, they're going for dragon, the other team goes for a turret. They're going to farm some of the other team farms some. They're going to try to trade those sort of moot advantages and just kind of let the game push on forward. They're going to try to buy, you know, some time and push themselves through this matchup because they've still got a pretty much impossible to kill Kog'Maw. There are no assassins really here on Taipei Assassins. You're seeing a safe build from Stanley. He's got Wriggles and a Chalice. He's not like rushing Trinity Force. He's not looking to chunk someone out with a Death Cap or go for against his Rage Blade. He's simply there to be a really annoying sort of force in the mid lane, or sorry, annoying force in his bottom lane, kind of mess with Darien, and just kind of toss heals to Bebe and let him scale. So it's really up to M5 to farm out their solos, get tanks in the way, and then let Genja get some gold.
So Taipei Assassins super bringing out their suffocation strategy right here. If you guys want to rewatch this, tell your friends. This is exactly how it's done. Moscow 5, a definitive game last time. They really come out huge. Everything was crumbling in their favor. The kills from TPA, like we said, the Stand United and Requiem down bottom last game, those were all going in favor of Moscow 5, those little instances. TPA is creating all of these for themselves this game. They destroy top lane. They leave Bebe now to run. They destroy mid lane and now suffocating that bottom lane because they knew Darien was going to be down there to farm a broken down turret. So these guys are completely controlling the map. Like Moscow 5 usually does, they get to a lane as soon as it's ready to be pushed. They don't give the other team time to rotate over, and we can see Moscow 5 right along the base of their own entrance, just running back and forth, trying to find where TPA is going to play cat and mouse.
And what's happening right here, though, is M5 is completely stagnating pushes on those secondary turrets. You know, like we just said, M5 knows their outer turrets will fall down, but they know that middle turrets are much harder to go for. And of course, as I say that, TPA is about to kill a secondary turret here. But you saw them kind of get forced. There we go. Yeah, so they push them back, right? These secondary turrets are hard to kill. They're deep in enemy territory. It's much easier to bring reinforcements around. It's very hard to take them out without getting pressured. And so you're seeing that over and over where M5 is able to defend this kind of situation. Now TPA is harassing. They're putting some damage down, but they're not killing them off. And while this is happening, you can just see at this top lane, Genja is just left alone, farming and farming and farming and trying to catch up in this game. Now, certainly nowhere near the kind of gold that Vayne has on Bebe, but again, their strategy is protect the X, protect the Kog'Maw, and get him to late game, and when he finally reaches that, that's where M5 is going to shine. They just need to wait another 10 minutes.
3 members of Moscow 5 with 129 minions, actually. All of them the highest in the game right now as they tie each other for that score. And really nobody trying to farm it out. Finally, Bebe breaking that one down, goes up to 100 and plus 30. 6-1 at 15 minutes into the game. 22,000 to 17,000 gold. We can just see who has accrued the most, and that goes to 56,000 on Bebe. Vayne being very strong, the dazzle onto Darien, and they're really just trying to get shots onto this turret. Now firing onto Darien. Freak, the pressure is here in each lane, and they're really spreading themselves thin, but making it work.
This is exactly what TPA needs to do, is again, they know their mid game is so much stronger, they will just keep pushing for turrets. This is exactly what they want, and you'll see them keep cycling through. And they've sent Nidalee and Orianna as the solos because they're kind of the most safe. They've got the most mobility, they can heal themselves, they can pounce away or crowd control the opponents. They're going to keep sitting in those situations. Lilballz is actually here to bait a counter engage, sitting in that brush for a little while, trying to see if they would jump on Bebe and mistake, but that's not going to be the case. They're just simply pushing for turrets as hard as possible over and over and over. And again, because M5 wants to stall, TPA wants to close this out. They will simply, no matter how hard it is to do, they are just going to keep pushing because that's the only thing they've got left to do.
Freak, coming into this portion of the game, however, we see that Moscow 5 is forced out of a lot of these fights. It seems in or out of the jungle, Taipei is bringing a stronger team right now.
And this is because a lot of it is honestly gold-based, that their level 1 team is strong. This is kind of what happens when you bring an early game focused team, and like you'll really have with Tarek Malkai and such, and you're not so much with York, who's got really terrible at level 1, is they just want to go for pressure early on, make those fights happen, and they actually made those fights happen. That's the really thing for an early game team, is you've got to actually fight to do it.
Stanley very low on mana, initiating too hard here. His team is really split between left and right. Toyz taking a bit of damage there, but they get the damage onto Gosu and Alex. They've done a great job at just taking those cooldowns. Stanley was really caught out of position there, but Moscow 5 knew they didn't have the engage. TPA was forced to run back and forth and make sure he could get out alive. You see Alex each running away, blinking as Genja farms that bottom lane. It's still 154 minions for Bebe to 122 for Genja. Very much different game for the AD carry here. And this is absolutely going to have to be a game where Moscow 5 adapts to the carry.
Yeah, and they've got to just shut down Bebe, absolutely. It's going to be hard to do it, but that's what they've got to go for here. And you're just going to see it be so difficult because TPA are going to be reserved. They're going to be smart about their movements. You're seeing Stanley once again running to that top lane. Now, they don't have a Shen like they had, but they've got a Summoner Teleport, which is just as good. He will shove around that top lane, be very hard to catch with Pounce, with Wriggles, putting extra wards down to make sure he's not watched, and he's just really, really controlling the sort of map movements of his opponents. He's going to get nice and farmed. He's going to keep his gold going up. M5 completely controlling Dragons here. This is how they're going to keep their gold up in this game as they try to stall it out and push forward. But you're just going to see constant pressure. These turrets still able to fall. They're finally going to look for their 6th here as Stanley continues to shove this top lane. And now he's finally transitioning into an actual fighter. He's got that Phage, the Trinity Force finally coming up next. You know, he went for Chalice Wriggles just to be a sustained monster and to really mess with any counter pushes here. But that's going to be the gameplay, is just pushes. You know, Bebe's going to pick up gold on the back of that even though they've been splitting up and pushing constantly, he's still up there in minions. But I mean, look at the gap now. It's 132 to 158. Genja is catching up. That's exactly what M5 wanted, is Genja. He's got to get closer and closer on those items. He's got Phantom Dancer, but he needs Zerkreaves, he needs Infinity Edge.
Going after Alex. He does not have his ultimate up. Stanley able to take him down, but this is going to be the fight between Alex and Stanley and Diamond, rather. Too much speed coming from Nidalee, the escape artist in that Cougar form, and we're going to have to see if they go for this now. TPA trying to force down onto the Baron. It looks like it will be. There's Darien just on the other side, about to throw a ghoul over, but it's not going to be enough. Do they pursue him? No. They look like they were going to be the side of the wall for another twisted advance attack. Stanley finds no mana for him, though, but it's not going to be any cost for him in that form. Continues the pressure on, gets as much as he can, and really, Freak, what they're doing right now is just keeping Moscow 5 out of their lanes, allowing a little bit of push here, and great job by Stanley for not allowing Darien to back.
And this is one of the most difficult things to do, is to actually close a game out. They know there is a team that's trying to stall. They know Genja is just trying to get gold, and they're tooth and nail defending their secondary turrets, because they know as turrets fall, TPA will still scale ahead. No matter how much that Kog'Maw farms, they know if every turret is 150 gold to everyone on the team, they know that Dragon's 190, Baron's 250. If they can keep picking up those margins, they will keep scaling themselves forward. They will absolutely, push themselves farther and farther ahead, and so they're trying to keep these advantages together. And with no one getting caught out too much on M5, they're stopping those pushes. But Stanley making a big play, actually pushes out Alex Ish, actually makes a 5-on-4 happen, and then baits the rest of the team top lane. TPA have actually created openings on the map. They've finally given themselves these windows to take major advantages and push on through more.
Oh, Genja taking so much damage from Stanley, but he's able to trade it back here. He may have enough mana to get this. That W is still on. Throws out the living artillery, but here goes Bebe. Slams him against the wall. The Yorick ulti is on, so he will come back to life, but he's instantly brought back down again. trying to stay in this fight. It is going to be Diamondprox going down. A huge initiation for Bebe, and he finally falls. The shutdown going to Darien in this fight. Alex Easter's chrono shift is down. Darien there to keep that pressure on. Gosu can lock them down in the turret. Stanley gets out of that, and it's just huge pressure from Taipei Assassins right now. Darien is, however, able to clean up a few kills for his team. It's now 3-3, a 4-3 now. Finally, the last auto attack and double kill for Toyz, the ace on the Moscow 5.
He almost killed Lilballz by running a freaking bomb into him. But they did survive that one overall. This turret low enough they could backdoor it. Toyz, yep, there's the shield. Says Lilballz, come on, dude, thank you. She almost died to the turret as a result there. TPA, flawless team fights, and actually M5, they did almost pull that one back. Genja got caught out, he took a lot of damage, but they kind of collapsed into that fight really, really well. They nearly turned that one around, but that fight was really carried on the back of the gigantic gold lead that Taipei Assassins built for themselves. M5's power is always team fights. Let's watch that last fight with player audio.
Stanley 可以 ，Stanley 可以 ，nice， 这差一点，好可惜哦。哦，啊，可以，慢慢来，慢慢来，慢慢来，慢慢来，慢慢来哦，这一定有，这一定来了。
Absolutely amazing. You can see Mistake on the front line of those calls right there with the rest of his team. Once it got a little hectic, but Mistake took right back over. We see Alex doing that for Moscow 5 in these fights.
And you're seeing that, both these teams, and you can see just how good they are at team fighting, is they have that one caller who's making the play, saying, here's what we're focusing, here's how we're moving, this is the focus here. And again, I want to reiterate, I've heard so many teams on their comms just incredibly hectic, everyone barking out orders. That one captain there making the calls. I mean, this is a looking like a game 3 coming up in the semifinals. Honestly, now we're at the 4 best teams in the world. Neither of these teams had lost a map up until this point here in this tournament. Looks like they're gonna trade 1-1 as this game moves forward. And I mean, these are just top caliber teams, and they're relying on that one captain to make those plays. And it's just interesting to see how do top teams differ? M5, amazing team fighting. TPA here, clearly amazing team fighting and great plays as well. And it's that captain role that seems to be a really big difference.
Freak, with how the game went last time, Moscow 5 was so in the driver's seat. I pointed out that, Taipei Assassins kind of had a composition that relied a lot on itself. But each lane fended for itself. That composition of reliance is totally out the window. They can all do what they want, and their team composition has become that much stronger, allowing Bebe to run by himself. He can pretty much 1v3 any situation against this team. There's not enough crowd control to just lock him down. Those dodges of him and his mechanics this game have been paying dividends for his team. Right now, 3-1-4, 5-0-5 coming in from Toyz in mid. Toyz, another key to victory. Get him fed and play around his game and strategy, and has just been huge for these guys. And whenever Stanley gets in trouble, we saw him going into that last fight really tanky enough to take on the cooldowns for the fight. TPA has just turned this one into their favor, now dictating these fights and on the front step of Moscow 5 space. Looks like they're going to back off here. Dragon should be coming up quite soon. That was about 17 minutes that it went down. 12-4 here. They are in an 8,000 gold lead right now for Taipei Assassins.
The good thing here for TPA is that they've got 2 healers on the roster. They've got Tarek and Nidalee, both of whom will keep the health bars sustained from that team. You've got 3 points in the heal of Tarek. You've got, I'm going to guess, 5. You have 5 points in the heal for Nidalee as well. So they've got a decent amount of sustain here, plus the Chalice there on Nidalee, giving her some nice mana regeneration. I mean, this roster is about sieging. And when you consider one of the biggest long-range nukes is going to be Time Bomb, it's very easy for Toyz and Orianna to shield that damage output as well. Honestly, TPA, as long as they've got the mana for it, are going to be near immune to long-range harass. And that's really the only tool M5 has. Because what M5 needs to do is try to swipe out minion waves, which will be very difficult. They don't have a Nivea or Karthus or Caitlyn or things like that that'll sweep waves out really, really easily. So they're really relying on kind of getting into the fight, taking a bit of flack as they do it, and trying to harass back TPA. But as Taipei Assassins heals themselves back up, they're just going to put themselves over and over again in these long-range sort of siege situations where they're just at odds, and they're going to take some damage, and they're going to hope to heal it back. Stanley now with the Golem buff is a huge deal here. He's going to have a lot more presence in those fights.
So Darien, forced to build a little bit differently this game. We saw him go straight Triforce into that Guardian Angel. Now really not building himself tank either. Where are they going to find that front line for themselves to come from, Freak? Stanley is getting quite tanky, and they're really able to just come into these fights a lot stronger.
And the difficulty here is that, they're going to hopefully rely on Diamond to be a tank, but, with him going Manamune into a Trinity Force here, they don't have that front line. You heard Dan talk about the fact that the team needed a Frozen Heart, and Reyna's Omen was in that mix as well onto Olaf in WE versus CLG. They need, very directly, a Frozen Heart in this matchup. They need that to help shut down Bebe on Vayne. No one else, except for Toyz, is a gigantic damage threat. Stanley, very utility-based. He added a Spirit Visage there just to be a bigger tank. He's got Mercury Treads overall. He's honestly just a mobile, low cooldown tank, trying to be as disruptive as possible and toss heals onto his team.
It looks like he may be able to get out of this one as he just gets into that bush. That passive going to give him some movement speed, and you can see him turning around, knowing the aggression. TPA now going on to the Baron. It looks like they will be able to grab this one down. Will be nice for them. They wait on it, though. If they can get some damage, it will stop the Baron from healing. They keep that tick in. They're just waiting for them to come out. They're really baiting this fight out. They know that M5 is too spread out. Coming in from the side, it's going to be Diamond. He tries to steal it on Udyr, and he's not going to make it out alive. Bebe takes him down 13-4. A huge push by TPA coming up.
And that was really smart how they played that one out, because they kept trying to bait Diamond into flash over the wall. They did not want to risk that smite. You saw, again, with the WE-CLG match, where they had control over Baron, they knew they'd probably get it, but Snoopy was afraid of getting out-smited. And they went, okay, we'll push it. Okay, hold on. All right, now Kog'Maw got vision. Okay, but wards are swept. Okay, go back in. And they bursted it down at the last second. You saw Diamond's flash come in after Baron was killed, because they just psyched him out enough to get full control.
Freak, oh my god, coming in so big. Genja, Chrono Shift down, but they continue to fight him. Genja will come back up, but he's going to be obliterated once more. No, he makes it out towards the top side. We do see that Darien falls. Genja forced away from and then back towards his turret. A double kill coming in. Huge game for Bebe here as he comes in to finish off this one with his team, focusing down onto Diamond, but it should be the inhibitor. They're going to gain some huge ground here as they turn Moscow 5's base into shambles. Moscow 5 not exactly flustered, but I think this is the first time we have seen them not be able to answer a strategy. The suffocation from Taipei Assassins just too much. Huge damage coming from that Orianna shockwave, but she is forced to bring it back. No, yes, coming out huge. Toyz just back down to his team, and it's going to be that first Nexus turret, the second Nexus turret, the Nexus now, a game 3, Moscow 5 forced to defend on the fountain, and it's going to be a huge matchup. Your first semifinal match going into a best of 3 between Taipei and Moscow 5.
And what a match that was from second number 1 TPA coming out with the strategies, jumping in and invading onto the jungle. You saw them kind of run in there, put a ward down, really put down traps and saplings, make sure there was no counterattack from M5. And again, that level 1 team so strong. They said, okay, you're not starting blue. We know you can't start blue because we warded it out and made sure you weren't there. Cool. We're going to go back to our own golem buff. Make sure Maokai has that. Make sure he's got mana to spend and make sure that we're happy here. Cool. Okay. Now let's move forward. Now we're going to invade your red. We're going to kind of suffocate that a little bit, make sure nothing was available there. And they completely did. They suffocated Diamond's Udyr. Now Diamond did make a nice move. He actually stole Lizard buff that entire time. They had the awareness. They had the mobility to say, yes, okay, we can get that buff. We know where you're going, because M5 the same way. They had actually warded blue themselves, and they knew just where TPA was going. But the team collapsed together. TPA spent a lot of time, 4 men strong, just jumping in there and saying, yes, we're gonna invade. Those are just ours. Let's steal stuff away. That's gonna be fine. Again, they still had the other golem warded, so they knew where a lot of the movements were available. And on the back of that, Stanley, he went and sold the bottom lane and it had Summoner teleport. So even if something went wrong, he could teleport in onto a secondary ward and make that a full 5-man push, no matter what happened. So TPA's level 1 from the get-go was controlling. They got the kill on Zyra early on, that first blood, thanks to stuns and condemn and everything else. A lot of damage available. They just kept pushing forward and forward and forward. And again, I'm surprised that M5 decided to fight them there, because that level 1 team was so strong, because there was so much disruption. A level 2 Maokai just tossing out crowd control. Vayne just on the back of that, probably going to do a little bit more damage than Kog'Maw will at level 1, just for the extra mobility and just the extra moves she can make, and heal at level 1, a little bit better than cleanse at level 1 overall. Just so many moves coming out, and just TPA completely capitalized on the back of that. They kept the pressure on the entire time.
Yeah, a huge, and I got to give it up to Bebe for this game. He played each lane he was in, since he was pretty much in every lane after taking that first turret, amazingly. Hitting every third bolt he could, pretty much just you could just compare it to Sivir dazzling and hitting, or Taric dazzling and hitting the Sivir boomerang. You block out your lane so early, and they're not even able to come back whatsoever. They kept Kog'Maw under the turret. Although he's a good farmer, they just could not come back. And we have more of that coming up next. Game 3 will decide which one of these teams will compete at the World Finals on the stage right behind us. Everything is on the line, and we'll be right back with a quick few messages after this with a special interview. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm Rivington III. With me, as always, David Freak Turley here, still live from the Galen Center here at USC Stadium. And we're here to discuss a few of the matchups, and we're lucky enough to be joined by Solo Mid's very own AB Carry, Reginald. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Just here watching the matches, and they're really, really great matches, so I'm really excited for the third game.
All right, Freak, I know you had a few questions to start off with, so I'm going to kick it to you.
All right, first off, predictions. We're into Game 3, first semifinal. Are we going to see Taiwan or are we going to see Russia in the finals?
I think Moscow 5 is going to win for sure.
Why is that?
Mainly because the first game, it was a very standard game, and Moscow 5 just completely swept them. And I think that TPA was only able to completely snowball this game because the early game started 3-1, and usually teams never beat Moscow 5 early game.
So what do you think M5 has to do then to not repeat that early game loss?
Moscow 5 has to completely be safe early game, mainly because they're so strong early game. They pick early game champions, and they're very, very well coordinated early game. So if they don't make the same mistake twice, they'll win for sure.
So TPA has to come out with like a level 1 team and like really push it to them, or is there something else they could do here?
So Moscow 5 has always been very aggressive early game. They always counter jungle. They always make plays. Like if you notice the first game, they pick Evelyn. Evelyn's a roamer, and they were able to pick up kills. And I think that if they want to beat Moscow 5, they would have to be really safe and make smart plays and drag it up to very late game and play even with Moscow 5 throughout the middle game, where Moscow 5 is the strongest. Or they catch Moscow 5 off guard by being very aggressive, picking up kills like they just did, and snowballing the game completely.
Do you feel like Moscow 5 can play a standard strategy that they always have against people's innovation, or are they going to have to bring something out?
I think that Moscow 5 will win, like, playing standard, mainly because if you watch Moscow 5 play standard, they're very aggressive when they play standard, and they always have an advantage. They rarely lose games, and when they lose games, it's usually because they're playing against CLG EU, where they bring it completely late game, 70-minute matches where you see Moscow 5 lose matches rarely, and Moscow 5 only loses matches when they're losing early.
So what did it take to get them to this state then? What made M5 BenQ such a terror overall, where they're a global favorite? You know, you just say, you know, the only way to beat M5 is like super crazy late game or like super crazy early game. What made them like the most dominant team for the middle 90% of the game?
So amongst the Koreans and Europeans and North Americans, I think that Moscow 5, out of all those teams, takes it the most serious throughout NA and Europe, mainly because Solo Mid, CLG, you see all these other big teams, they stream. Moscow 5 is all about winning tournaments. They practice seriously, they always practice off stream, and they never leak out their strategy. They're very innovative, and they always come to tournaments with new things. Like they came to this tournament with Evelyn, and they completely swept the floor. Whereas you see like other teams, they go into the tournament relatively playing standard. You still see Moscow 5 with these crazy comps like Zyra, Kog'Maw, where you do completely true damage when you die. Like Kog'Maw and Zyra both do like around 1,000 true damage together just by dying. And like they bring out these crazy comps. They're very, very innovative, and that's why you only see them lose games when they make horrible mistakes.
Right on. All right, guys, and we are going to have another question. It's actually be coming from our social media as we branch out to Twitter to see what they have to say. So it's from Clinny Lowell, League of Legends in the Twitter name. I like it, Clinny. We have, why do you think Alex...
No, she was banned. Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Evelyn was banned actually by TP in the second game. I think he was happy to pick her, you know, both times actually, you know, coming out both against Invictus and Taipei Assassins. Game 1, crushing faces Evelyn, that roamer playing aggressively, making a lot of plays early on, and actually did force the ban away. You know, TPA banned it game 2, IG banned it game 2. Actually worked for TPA this time. They made the early leads happen. So Alex really, he is forcing those bans. I think he would have been happy to pick Evelyn again, because it's, you know, both times, game 1, they're like, yes, we'll bring out Eve. Once it's banned, they'll pick something else.
So coming into this, we know Moscow 5, like I said, are they going to need innovative strategies or not? Do you feel they're a team that will, somewhat like Team Solo Mid, find a strategy like modify that to the best of their ability, or they are one to come out with strategies of their own?
I think that Moscow 5 is the team to come out with strategies on their own, and I think that they are, like, if they don't bring something new, they're still very strong standard. So, like, I'm not really worried that Moscow 5 will falter.
So you think M5 in the finals?
Yeah.
Who's against M5 in the finals? You got Kinalogic Gaming Europe and Azebu Frost. Who's against them?
I think that I'm rooting for CLG EU versus Frost, but Frost has been phenomenal this tournament, and they haven't really lost a match. I think that, like, if I were to bet, I would bet Azebu Frost and Moscow 5, but I'm definitely cheering for CLG EU, mainly because a lot of the members on their team are my friends, so I'm hoping that it's a European final.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you very much, Reginald, for your insights, and you know, good luck to you guys in Season 3 as well. And it seems that you're going to be playing as well in Season 3, so good luck to you individually as well as your team. And you know, we're going to be going into Game 3 now of this semifinal. It's on the line. You know, Reginald's saying that it's going to require early game aggression or crazy late game from Taipei Assassins, but we're going to find out because Champion Select is now underway. Who's got what it takes?
All right. Let's see what we do have as we get into Champion Select. We are going to be taking these guys for a ride here, or they're going to be taking us for quite a ride. Maokai going out first. They did not like how they had made that happen, and Diamondprox, again, they get his least in benched.
Yeah, and now M5, you know, they regretted not banning Maokai there in Game 2.
Yeah.
That was their first ban in Game 1. And they're like, oops, yeah, so Lilballz a little crazy. Okay, we're going to, step that one back a little bit. Evelyn getting banned out, still licking their wounds from that one. And third time in a row here, M5, they are banning out Jace. They do not want to deal with Stanley's Jace. He picked that one the very first game against Najin's Sword, and I think Sword regretted that one a little bit. So they're removing a lot of those crazy aggressive top laners. And Taipei Assassins, actually, they were all about that first pick Orianna. They banned it both times now that they were on the second pick team, and simply first picked it when they were blue. So TPA giving a lot of respect to Orianna as a champion, wanting it for themselves, giving, of course, every single time respect to that Lee Sin from Diamond, and then freeing up that ban onto Evelyn because Evelyn a bit scary. So we'll see what M5 goes for right away. And of course now without Nunu and Sona dropped out, they're like, great, we get Nunu, let's win this.
Yeah, this is going to be big for them. They can go a lot of ways with this. You can obviously go poke, you can go straight to the tower, you can just go for an aggressive lane like they had in Vayne, and then roam the map as well. Blood Boil opens up so many possibilities. It's incredible.
Yeah, it does open them up for the typical sort of counter, the late game hyper carry strategy. And we saw it actually from TPA in their first match against Sword. They had Orianna, Kog'Maw, Nunu. We saw CLG run that out in their third game against Team WE, where they had that Nunu Kog'Maw scariness. And then once again, you got Nunu here. I've got to expect the Kog'Maw coming out.
Yeah, it could be very big for them. They pick up Sona right away. Obviously, Nunu's on the map, so they're not going to grab that Sona as well, but they still want it. That poke and lane is going to be huge, especially if they can't initiate the fights that they want. And they're going to be getting Lilballz on Mundo, so even more poke for the composition itself.
So right away, TPA is showing me that they want to play a counter strategy. They want to get some picks out. M5 has to pick an AD carry, their mid, or their top laner here. Okay, yeah, their jungler's in, okay, their support is in, and they've finally shown. If this is the Kog'Maw pickup, it is going to be not only a crazy aggressive jungler who will make a lot of plays and often steal some buffs and steal some gold, but they've said, yes, Nunu Kog'Maw is our bottom lane. It's late game. It's scary. Come at me, bro. And honestly, with Sona in this mix, I think this is pretty okay for TPA, honestly, because I think Sona's a good matchup against Nunu because she can poke at him from out of Ice Blast range. If they do grab, and the insta-lock there on Ezreal, this is the lane I expected to see. Sona Ezreal is very long range. It's a lot of poke, and there is no sustain here for M5 BenQ. Nunu and Kog'Maw here are going to be kind of left to absorb damage and have very few openings to counterattack back. Even if they do counterattack, even with Blood Boil and Ice Blast, I still think Essence Flux wins that matchup, and that Sona Ezreal are still going to win a 2-on-2 fight. So it's going to be on the junglers here, because the general gameplay here, I expect TPA's dual lane, if they 2-on-2 at all, to win that matchup. On the flip side, though, if one jungler does better than the other, you'll see that matchup flip. As far as an equal trade goes, I'd like that for Taipei Assassins. And they've now, this looks very similar to a prior strategy where they've run a Nivea with Mundo together. There is a lot of area control here.
Yeah, they're just looking to completely disperse that fight. And Nivea's ultimate, great at disengaging and make a team split. And then you lock them down with that Mundo and Ezreal as well. We have the Sona for disengage or engage if they want. But like you said, that lane matchup could favor the bottom for TPA. You see that Genja waiting to pick here, as well as Gosu. They really only have that Nunu coming in for Gosu as well as Kog'Maw for Genja. So they're picking, obviously, for other champions on this. They're looking to counter somewhat here. They have a little bit of time left, and what they're looking at is really to be able to dodge and get back into a fight. The reinitiation after the cooldowns have been wasted, really. Dodging that crescendo, getting out of range of Bebe, as he's just been amazing in his positioning this entire matchup. It looks like they find safety in Yorick, as well as Shyvana, which has been a really big mainstay since the first time we've seen Moscow 5 in offline play. Yeah,
this makes a lot of really good openings here for M5 BenQ. They've got, once again, the Protect the Kog'Maw composition is coming through. They've grabbed Yorick to clone that and make him really, really powerful. TPA, again, actually running Nidalee as a counter lane here to Yorick. Really wanting to shut him down. Now, I don't think she made any really major plays on Darien early on. They did keep him locked up in his lane.
They kept him there.
It kept him from roaming because he had that triple kill in Game 1 that really turned the game around. But I didn't really see Stanley doing anything all that different otherwise. He's going to be there split pushing and setting up a lot of moves for his team. But without that crazy Vayne scaling, without the crazy Orianna scaling, I don't know, it feels like a very different composition here where, you know, I don't like TPA playing split push. I don't like TPA playing for the late game because they've got Nunu Kog'Maw with Gragas there to completely split up a team. If Mundo or Nidalee tries to dive in, Explosive Cast will shove back the back line. They will push Nidalee even farther into the group, and then she'll just get eviscerated right here by a blood-boiled Cog. And I don't think Mundo's got enough presence there to follow that up and make that a kill. M5, I think they've got all the champions they need to make this a really, really powerful Game 3. Now, as far as level 1 power is concerned, TPA is pretty strong. Ezreal, Anivia, Dr. Mundo, Sona, all these guys are great early on. But I think TPA's got to make something in the first 10 minutes or it's going to start really running away from them.
I got to ask, you know, Diamondprox, amazing on Shyvana, and it's not a necessity, but what is your feeling about the lack of hard crowd control for that Shyvana jungle?
It's not too bad overall, and he's actually not even bringing exhaust in, so he's not looking for all that much gank power. And when you look at really his lanes, you don't really need to gank for Cog Nunu. I mean, they have some gank presence, they have slows, they have damage, but like, you don't really care. Gragas doesn't need ganks, he can just escape. You never really want to gank for a Yorick, because he doesn't contribute much to that gank either. They're looking at Diamond, I think, to just be hyper-aggressive and deny jungle. And the problem is, though, he's against Dr. Mundo, who's going to be really good in the jungle and get the farm anyway. You know, the Shyvana pick I don't love a whole lot. But you can at least use the Dragon's Descent to push back aggressors. They've got pushback from Gragas, pushback from Shyvana, and that might be all it's for. Is, you know, it's one of the junglers he's comfortable on. It's a fast clearer. You know, she does a lot of damage overall. So if something does dive in, she can support that. I don't expect her to run in and try to kill Ezreal. I expect her to run in and kill not Shyvana, but to kill Nidalee. Maybe try to kill Dr. Mundo and kind of sit on the front line with Darien. And they'll just kind of all coalesce around Genja and have that nice little bubble there. And then it's fine. You don't need crowd control. You just need damage, and that's acceptable really overall, especially when you've got Ice Blast, Absolute Zero, Explosive Cast, Body Slam, things like that to keep them in place. Then yeah, just, you know, sit in the front line, be there, and just let Kog'Maw kill everything. That's pretty reasonable. So I think that Diamond's going to kind of sit in the jungle a little bit more, farm more than you would normally see him on someone like Lee Sin or Xin Zhao, where he'll gank
safe
pretty
game.
frequently. Yeah, he's going to be a little bit safe. You know, they're not looking for any crazy major moves early on because it burned them a little bit in the beginning where they you know, tried to stop the counter jungle. So I think it's a more reserved game from M5. And it's just like, Genja, just have a safe lane. I might even see M5 go for a lane swap just to give Genja free farm and to let him get to that late game.
Yeah, TPA was really focused just on how to hold and start the aggression in the game. We saw the turret at 22 minutes. That's quite a late turret. They were allowing Moscow 5 to grab Dragon. We'll see if it happens again. It really didn't affect the game that much for him. Jumping into the match now, we are ready to get underway with your last matchup, do or die for both teams as we come into the semifinal match. Moscow 5 BenQ versus Taipei Assassins. One team is going home and one team is going on to the World Finals.
Yeah, these teams are guaranteed $150,000 for being one of the 4 best teams in the world. By all rights, the 4 best teams in the world. You're seeing them in front of you today. After this match, we've got another semifinal as Counterlogic Gaming Europe does take on Azubu Frost for the other final slot. Yeah, the remake of the OGN Champions Summer League. But here you've got the Game 3 for the best teams in the world. One of these guys is going into the finals. You know, we've heard a lot of the audience call M5 BenQ a heavy favorite. Reginald favored M5 BenQ as a heavy favorite, but a lot of these other players, Hotshot and I think Wicket as well, saying that TPA had the advantage here. And TPA once again playing aggressively.
Pressure and poke start off this invasion. They did get a little bit of damage onto Alex. He is going to not exactly use that to advantage, but have to stay in the back for this fight. He's really going to be able to only throw barrels out, maybe get his Ignite off if the fight were to happen. But I'm talking about something that won't. These guys are headed down a little bit here. It looks like they're going to try to Flash Frost over that bush and grab somebody if they can. They found Gosu! He is forced to flash out, which then gives them the aggression they would love to have in that bottom lane, Freak. It's going to make it very good for them. Diamond trying to clear out his jungle, knowing that they could be close. They have the ward down, and he says, I just figured they took it already.
And this is actually really smart. TPA already planned to go for red from minute 1. If you look at the top river, they already warded where Shyvana's running by right now, looking for the lizard buff invade. So they know that's happening there as a counterattack right now. And so Lilballz with the lizard buff knows that there was one coming by, and he's going to go for the steal himself. And the thing is, though, TPA is not actually not really ready to stop that. So despite all their early move, that lizard buff is really just going to trade hands no matter what.
This is just the mechanics of knowing something is going to work and that you're safe doing it. Genja in lane by himself. Here comes from the poke from Mistake. Once they hit level 2, he's going to be able to heal that back, but they're going very aggressive here. Not even worried about Gosu, but Gosu body blocks a Mystic shot, keeping Genja in this fight. They look for the kill, but the flash is forced.
And the thing is, though, Genja, his summoner heal is still available, but the Ignite's already been burned from Bebe. They did not have the damage to pick off Genja, so this matchup actually really good for M5. Now, Ghost Pepper's low on health. He doesn't have any potions left. He will take some harass, and that's going to be on Mistake. He's got a ward in that brush. He's got that ward there because, again, he wants to poke in that brush. He doesn't want to let Ghost Pepper sit somewhere safe and immune to counterattack, so they want to go for some pressure here, and you'll see Mistake come in. There's the nice pressure. You know, lower the counterattack damage and just walk into the brush safe and sound. And that's going to be nice. There's actually no wards here for Ghost Pepper. He opened with boots, which really hurt his lane control. This lane is going to be so hard for M5 because they've got no ward presence whatsoever. You're going to see so much poke come from TPA unless they make any major mistakes, and it'll be hard to capitalize because Ghost Pepper, his exhaust is down. There's not a lot of options here for M5 to counterattack.
Oh, Diamond coming on the backside here. He gets the first bit of damage down. The Twin Bite hits. The Ignite is off. A beautiful Flash Frost from Anivia keeps them from following, and Lilballz will be forced back into his own jungle. He may be able to get some experience here, but you can see how Diamondprox is using this to his advantage. He is just going through the jungle now, stealing what he can, knowing Lilballz cannot face him. This bottom lane pushing quite hard. Freak, you said it's going to be hard without wards, and even with the composition, Mistake wants to Q all day long. He's going to be doing damage to minions, and that wave is going to continue to push, making it even harder for them.
And the one good thing here for Taipei Assassins is that Mistake has that Fairy Charm early on, so he's going to keep healing on Sona. I mean, look at M5's health bars. They're so empty right now. Kog'Maw is out of potions. Nunu out of potions. There's no sustain there. Genja not having a good time of this one. He's got that 3 lifesteal from Masteries and the Summoner heal if he gets into a pinch. Now, hopefully TPA remembers that that's still up, or otherwise they're going to get baited into a bad fight. But other than that, there's not a lot of recourse here. M5 going to keep taking harass. Maybe they lose their turret, but, you know, ultimately it just makes it a really, really scary situation for Genja.
You know, Freak, I really like Sona as a matchup to Nunu. The heals usually just negate the Flash Frost, and to the point where you gain an advantage in the lane. You can carry it off of that as well as the poke. Lilballz coming in mid here. Alex taking a cleaver, but he realizes that, you know, it's kind of just aggressiveness in mid. I'll back off from this. They do still have Lilballz around that area, and we have seen that Mundo gank come in quite hard. Is actually going for his Wraith. Stanley pushing top, keeping Darien down at low mana, but keeping him in that lane as well. Stanley is trying to keep him farming these minions at the turret, but he just wants to keep pushing them in as well, denying that experience as much as possible. You can see Darien trying to just throw his mana out to get minions in his favor. 27-27, he's keeping it actually quite even. There's really no lead in any lane, and as I say that, I look down, it's going to be Bebe with 34 CS to Genja's 18.
And that is a huge lead. That is, again, that bottom lane being so incredibly amazing, but this top lane is super safe as well. Of course, we just pan away from that, but Stanley knows that there is no exhaust on the opposing jungler. The Lizard buff is timed out by now. He doesn't even need wards. You know, Darien can't follow up. He's out of mana, so he can't slow. Shyvana, again, has no crowd control as well. This Nidalee is super, super safe. Still has all 3 health potions. There is no reason for Nidalee to leave until that 7.5 minute mark when Lizard buff comes back out. You know, Darien finally recalled back and got some mana, but even still, there's not a lot of options here for M5 to stop Stanley. He will happily stay in this lane and happily keep pressuring. There is no way to stop him in this top lane.
Both junglers feeling comfortable in the opposing enemy's jungle. We can see Mundo going down bottom as Diamondprox smites away the big Wraith. He will be coming from behind. There is no ward here, and it looks like he will take a bit of damage. Goes for Gosu, though, and they're playing in a safe position. No real damage taken there. Alex pushing his lane into Anivia. Not exactly the best last hitter at the turret, but they are both level 6, so she's going to be able to clean up quite easily. His Toyz more than happy to just auto-attack a siege there under his turret. 7 minutes into the game, no turrets, no kills. First blood still to come out. Somebody to get that gold lead. It is 7.5 thousand gold even right now.
And they are just absolutely splitting this gold. The one thing that's going well for M5 BenQ is that their bottom lane is able to clear off the minion wave and then run to their jungle and pick up the double golems down there. They've done that at least once now. That helps them keep up in gold. It's about 65 gold every time you clear that wave out, and that does, you know, scale up throughout the game. But it's the one thing that's going to keep Genja in this game because this lane's still a bit of a mismatch, still very difficult for him.
See Mundo again. See Hotshot building those Doran shields onto Mundo when he plays them as well. Lilballz taking the same into consideration with that health regen as well as a little bit of armor and health. So we'll see him trying to really utilize that to get himself out in lane to be more aggressive. He's going to soak up some experience here in mid as Alex Ich goes back. Very well timed on the minion wave, crushing into the turret in middle. Aggression here up atop. Stanley just trying to throw down. You can see the damage trade completely in his favor this time. It's a different game. Darien did not have that swap lane to farm against, and that just the one player. So it's going to be a little bit different for him this game. We can see him falling behind.
There's a really good piece of teamwork coming on, though, from M5 BenQ, is that Diamond now at 7 minutes has picked up an Oracle's Elixir. What this means is he's about to hit level 6 and have his ultimate so he can initiate for fights, and he's got Lizard buff again for the next 2 minutes as well. And Alex Ich in that mid lane, who loves to roam and is on Gragas, has now surpassed level 6 as well. There is a ton of roam opportunity for M5 BenQ, and when you want to roam and pick up kills, you want to sweep out wards with that Oracle's Elixir. So you're going to see Diamond run around the map, sweep out those side lanes, and suddenly M5 is going to run in for fights very, very soon. The next 2 minutes, expect a lot of ganks.
Darien forced again under his turret. The attacks come out from Stanley. The hits go down. The damage trade about equal there. You can see Stanley probably trying to rethink doing that once again with the turret shot. Darien playing each instance that he can to get that damage back. A little bit of a gold lead here going in favor of TPA, but they tick together, keeping about 100 gold difference. Toyz picking up that blue buff. It is now up for Alex Ich, and he is forcing one more wave again into the turret here for Toyz. Mundo at the top of his jungle. Lilballz in his build still really hasn't bought too much for himself. He's only 8 CS behind, 8 minions rather, behind Diamondprox. No real aggression from them in the lanes, Freak, but you said once these buffs are distributed, the junglers find themselves, they're going to be aggressing. Here we see Toyz getting damage done to him. A beautiful exploding cast coming from Alex, but he's just not able to get the kill down as the flash is forced.
That was a really, really nice move. Every skill shot landed. Ignite used as well. The flash down for Toyz is a pretty scary place to be in. Now, he's got some counterattack damage available with the golden buff. You know, with his Ignite available, he should have a decent shot of this. But he was forced to recall, buy some new items. Alex, you know, we said that Toyz needed to bring his A game and really be the big carry and shut down Alex. And that ended up being, you know, somewhat the case in Game 2. This Game 3, though, slightly in Alex Ich's favor on Gragas. That's a very, very big deal because their bottom lane's not in great shape. Their top lane, not amazing either for M5 BenQ. And so they need some of that pressure to really come through that mid lane. They need him to show up and get some gold.
Lilballz not knowing that Moscow 5 has been taking those golems, as you just said, and finds himself a little bit of damage. And here comes Alex and Diamond. They are going to come down behind the entire team. There are really no wards there, but once they get into this bush, they are going to be able to see them. Is it too late, though? Mistake does have the ulti. He chooses to use it. Bebe still with shift up, and they walk away from this one quite easily, Freak.
And they needed that ultimate to come out early on. They could not have waited until Shyvana dove in. Now, Explosive Cask was down. I don't think they really counted that cooldown from Alex, but even still, just the pressure, you know, from Shyvana and just the damage output coming in, and possibly the body slam from Alex could have been enough. Toyz not in the best place right now against Alex either. He'll land the stun, should be able to walk away from this one. Explosive Cask, though, up pretty soon.
This is a great trade in damage. Alex knows he's winning, but he has to be careful. The minion wave coming up on him started to really trade that in Toyz' favor. Lilballz just on the backside as well. Alex, however, playing a very aggressive mid on this Gragas right now. The blue buff on him continues to farm away. Diamond coming in. They go in on mistake, but he flashes out. A little bit of crowd control from the exhaust, but really, as we said before, no hard crowd control to lock these guys down.
That was actually incredibly impressive, though. Both of them completely dodging those fights out and dealing a bunch of damage to Genja in the process, and Lilballz waiting right there, actually, still putting the pressure on. Now, the one thing that's gone really well for Diamond is that he has gone for the early oracles. He's smoked a lot of wards in doing so. So he's put out a lot of pressure early on. But he's not put pressure on that top lane. Stanley, you know, I criticized that Nidalee counterpick. Turns out it's a really, really good counterpick. Rushing that Chalice gave him the mana regen he needed and the magic resist to actually out-trade Darien and keep the pressure on. And again, knowing that he's Nidalee, knowing that there's not a lot of pressure coming in from Shyvana, knowing that he's not the focus here, that M5 would leave Darien to his lane, allowed him to keep the pressure on and actually snowball his other lanes forward by killing off turrets.
Once again, the Chalice into Spirit Visage coming up for Stanley. He's going for the same exact build. If it's not broke, don't fix it. 104 minion kills coming for Alex as he just continues to bolster that number coming into this. Freak, I really got to hand it to the junglers right now. Lilballz and Diamond playing very well. Whenever a gank comes down, they're there, counter ganking or initiating the gank. They have really been the ones that are keeping this game at 0-0.
They're absolutely kind of making a lot of plays here. Alex, though, taking a bit of pain there. Oh my gosh, this is not good for Lilballz.
That was a really great ultimate. Lilballz, I thought he was going to disperse them away, but he throws them under the turret. So he forced the ultimate there. We have heard Reginald say you can use the Gragas ulti quite a bit, so it's not too bad that he has it down. And you can still see that he's playing aggressive.
Yeah, so yeah, these junglers are trying to put pressure on the map overall. You know, show up to ganks when they're available, but they've been counter ganking so well that no one's been able to really put the pressure on. And this is M5 playing so intelligently because basically TPA counterpicked every single lane. They saw Yorick come out early and counterpicked with Nidalee. They saw the duo lane come out with Kog'Maw and Nunu, and they counterpicked their Sona Ezreal. They saw Gragas come out, they counterpicked with Anivia. I think with the exception of the jungle, every single one of TPA's lanes was basically picked second and reacted every single pick. And they've tried to build themselves counter lanes in every single situation. M5, despite having a late game composition, are actually surviving this early mid game very, very well. With the exception of that early turret kill, there's been no major advantage. M5 will still scale throughout this game. They've still got a really great team composition at the end of the day. And, this looks a lot like Counter Logic Gaming Europe versus Team WE, where that late game just gets scarier and scarier. There was a Nunu Kog'Maw. That is the epitome of a late game team. There needs to be some more pressure here from TPA.
Just look at this lane from Stanley up top. He has so much more confidence this game. I said if it's not broken, don't fix it. He plays Nidalee versus Yorick again. You can see him taking some damage here, trying to jump past, get some minions in his favor during this fight, but he's going to be forced out of this one. However, he took that turret down way earlier than last game, at least 10 minutes before that, knowing he would win his lane definitively, pushing Darien in. There's going to be a lot quicker roam now, a 2,000 gold lead coming from TPA, and they're going to be able to control the map just as they did last time. So that play from Stanley is just huge this game.
And you're seeing Lilballz finally now picking up his his own oracles on Dr. Mundo, finished the Heart of Gold, allowed him, said, okay, I've got the gold income now from that Heart of Gold. I can start moving around and doing more things on the map. But you're seeing differing builds come through here, right? You're seeing a Wriggles Lantern be the focus here for Diamond. He's going to move in and try to, put a lot of pressure on the map. And here comes a gank at the bottom lane.
Diamond getting hit up. Freak, we said it before, the jungler's always there at the perfect time, stopping these ganks from happening or going in anybody's favor. They finally do drop the second turret of the match here. No, they're forced off. Almost getting it. Great job by Genja to just focus down on those minions, but they do have that turret prepped for a kill. Alex Each looks like he's grabbing Wraiths and may head down for an assistance here, but they have to know that a lot of time has been taken, so what do they consider to be something that's worth their time right now?
Genja's baiting out because he's got a bunch of teammates coming in. Darien flanking around the back. This is going to be bad.
This is going to be big, and there is Darien. They did spend enough time down bottom taking out Bebe.
Nice move overall. You're going to see now. They get map control for it too, of course. They've got that Oracles, they've got all that pressure. Stanley will trade for a turret, and actually, this is a really good turret to trade for. It is very hard to kill secondary turrets here, so this is actually, I think, an advantageous trade overall for TPA.
Freak, this looks like one of those games that bottom lane will soon be forgot about with all the focus top. That Baron's going to be next. They get a kill, or they get Dragon rather. A beautiful steal there, looking for the kill. Bebe is still down. Gosu Pepper with a sliver of health. Looking top as Alex Ish tries to hold off Stanley. Toyz here on the chase, throws down the wall, just missing out. Diamond, the ultimate passing in front of him as well. Moscow 5 walks away from this one, but Toyz on Anivia grabbing Dragon.
This is actually really good. Stanley chasing this one down. Must force that flash. Alex just dodging those attacks. If any basic attack had landed, that Lucifer buff would have been enough to chase that one down. Alex was out of mana, and that's really the great thing about Nidalee is she can fight tooth and nail for a while. Everyone can get low on health and low on mana, and then she's like, well, great, Cougar form costs no mana. I'm going to assassinate you. Thank you very much. Really good situation there. And with that Dragon Steel in there as well, they've actually pushed themselves very, very far ahead. That's normally really the skill there for Diamond. And I think there was some coordination there, TPA saying, you know what? Yeah, our smite, we're not going to kill it, but Anivia can last hit it. We'll smite early and make that happen.
And that who has the most gold. Anivia, 5,600 for Toyz. So right behind him is actually going to be Bebe. These guys are carrying the game. 49,000 for Alex Each, or 4,900 I should say. He hasn't even hit 5,000 yet, so you can see that money domination for Taipei Assassins is really what keeps them winning these fights. Now we do have that first blood coming in for Darien. but it's going to be that money that really helps TPA in these fights as they get together as a team. We've seen Moscow 5 has very strong mechanics, but Taipei Assassins is finding a way through that, and they're really taking these fights in their favor. The Dragon Steel helped them a lot with the control of gold. They have 3 turrets down on the map. Freak, the entry of the jungle becomes so much more heavy for them now. They're able to just initiate so much more. Stanley getting himself in a pretty sticky situation here as he makes his way into the bush, dodges the Flash Frost, or Ice Blast, I should say, and they make it out for the teleport. So really, TPA just continuously pressuring the aggression until they find a fight they want.
This is really exactly what is happening here, because M5, you know, they know M5 does not want to fight yet. They know that they've, just like Reginald said, picked that early game dominant team, even though they didn't start out 3-1 like last time, but they're actually starting to win their lanes. You're seeing 156 to 120 at the top lane, 180 to 170, actually pretty much a wash in the middle, but the big difference is 150 to 110 at that bottom lane. You're seeing a Bloodthirster Phage versus just a Zeal among the AD carries, so you're absolutely seeing TPA with a big advantage early on. They know that the fight is not there for M5, that they are just happy to, M5 actually must really sit in the back and defend, and so they're turning that advantage into turret. A very fortunate Dragon Steel, to be fair. That was very close, that was neck and neck, but they're going to keep that pressure on. They're going to let Stanley overextend just a little bit, because he knows there's not a lot of damage yet here on the other team, and they're going to let him kind of move in and really go for pressure here, trying to turn these around, get more turret advantages, because then, you know, as Hotshot I think said, where, you know, you've got to accrue enough of a gold lead early on, right, that when it comes to late game, you're still on equal footing, because, hey, if you're richer, you've got items, who cares what your champion is?
Forced out of the fight there. Taipei Assassins continuing to keep the aggression on as they are now in the jungle, trying to get the smite out, and they do grab it. You see that going to Bebe, so that's going to be very effective for him in these upcoming fights. Taipei Assassins, they've, up until this point, it went a lot faster than last game. Oh, Genja getting aggressed down here, down in the bottom. It does not look like he's in a happy place, and it looks like the ultimate will be able to wipe him out. He will not be in position for Cathian's surprise. A little bit on mistake. More than happy to take it as they wipe out that wave as well, trying to stop the damage on the turret. You can see Toyz clearing the experience as they just continue to deny. And this is really what we saw Taipei Assassins. I was just about to say they're not doing this as fast as they did last game. We got to this point where they took down the turrets, and then we've extremely slowed down. This is when we saw Vayne running around, taking down turrets one after the other. Taipei Assassins rolling back into the flow of things here. They're going to micro the damage from the turret in and out, and they're going to be able to take this one down as the minions finally come in. They have such control over the map, and even for this to happen, a great job mentally knowing that the rest of M5 was really hurt or backing. There's not even a chance for Baron. They have all the time to walk around.
And this is really, you know, TPA playing this, and I'm surprised actually, they played it as a split push, but it's actually working out because they accrued that early game lead. You know, I said, you know, my first guess was that I'm worried about playing split push because they're going to be able to, you know, scale on you late game. But with all the lanes winning, that split push is allowing them to actually put a lot of pressure on different lanes, because the difficulty for them is that they're facing against Kog'Maw, who's got Area of Effect, and against Gragas, who's got amazing Area of Effect damage. M5 is really good at sweeping out minion waves. And so what Taipei Assassins is doing is putting pressure on so many places on the map that M5 can't stop them all. In fact, they're not stopping them anywhere. The bottom lane second turret went down. The top lane second turret went down. There's now a 5,000 gold lead. Despite splitting, you know, champion kills equally 1-to-1, they're up 5 turrets to 1. They stole the dragon. They're winning in minions because of their lane mismatches, and they're continuing to keep the pressure on. They're still up 50 gold, 40 minions top lane, 50 minions bottom lane, a negligible amount in that mid lane, which is fine. That's not, you know, really the emphasis there. And Nivea is there to put a lot of pressure and stop pushes. If you look at M5 trying to engage on, Crystallized Wall will stop them in their tracks and prevent the rest of the team from following in. If Diamond does dive in with Shyvana, Crystallized will stop anyone else from following up.
So Moscow 5 stopping the amount of deaths this time. By last game, it was about 6-1 in favor of Taipei Assassins coming from the blue side. And right now, with the Dragons and everything in their favor, they actually have 5,000 gold lead because of the turrets. They went a lot more for objectives this game instead of those early kills, and they're really controlling this matchup. Trying to throw out some damage there. They're just trying to push Gosu out of lane. They cannot, Moscow 5 cannot allow TPA to continue winning those small damage streaks.
And this is TPA, actually. Now that I think about it, I didn't think about this in Champion Select, but everyone on that team has poke. Sona, not the longest range overall, but you've got Nidalee, you've got Dr. Mooney, you've got Anivia, you've got Ezreal. All of them can deal damage 1,000 range away on the opposition. And as soon as M5 picked up that new first pick, they knew there is no healer on this roster. Not a single person except for Yorick and a little bit of Gragas as well, can really replenish their health bars easily. And oh, look at that, we're Crystallize blocking out Darien, forcing him to flash away, and that is a loss right there.
See, he's still trying to focus. He is not happy about what happened in that situation. They pushed him out of the fight. Ultimates used on both sides. Looks like they're forced out of this one. The teleport coming in from Nidalee, but it is stopped as well. She's going to stay bottom lane and harass Genja. So Stanley now versus Genja in that bottom lane as the rest of his team begins to push here. He's going to be able to get some good damage. No, he hit actually Genja with something there. Took a little turret dagger, was forced to walk back. But if his team can keep them up top, no, they can't. They've allowed him towards the bottom. Stanley now forced to fend for himself, flashing over the wall. If he can hit that bush, he's pretty much out of here and gone. His team will be able to help him. And we can see the pressure he's able to push. Just Stanley is dictating where Moscow 5 needs to be.
And look at Toyz' build. It's really interesting. He rushed Athene's Unholy Grail, but then immediately jumped onto Banshee's Veil, knowing that TPA's strength, again, is a long-range poke team. Now that they've sieged a lot of turrets, now that they've built themselves a 5,000 gold lead, this actually looks a lot like a Zubu Frost versus TSM Game 1, where their team is so long-range, and M5 has to have a really kind of unfortunate engagement, a very difficult engagement to push themselves in. And the best way to do that is explosive cast, pushing Toyz out of position, and just making an omelet out of Anivia. By getting that Banshee's Veil, there's no easy way, as long as he's able to dodge abilities, there's no easy way for them to actually, get her out of position. The explosive cast will get blocked by Banshees. If he's watchful, he can dodge the artillery shots from Kog'Maw and never get that Banshees pop. There's no really other way for them to easily break that Banshees. And so if Toyz is on his A game, he's watchful and making sure he's paying attention, he should never get chunked out and never get out of position, and he will continue to be that crazy long-range threat that doesn't allow anything to happen to his teammates.
So both teams have considerably slowed down now. It's still 1-1. There's a lot of caution being played here throughout this semifinal matchup, as it is do or die for League of Legends Season 2. These teams trying to get themselves a ticket here to the World Finals to vie for that $2 million prize pool. At 24 minutes into the game, TPA has a slight gold lead, but at the 1-1 on kills, these team fights really have not had true definition in them. Both teams have kind of been spread out during the fights. You've had somebody pushing bottom. Genja wasn't the last one with Stanley, and then they were forced to go bottom. We see how tanky Stanley is, though. Darien played a huge role in the first game where we saw him get Triforce Guardian Angels. They're not up to that point yet, so they can't be that tanky front line that they are required. The crowd control will not lock people in there for them. And Freak, like you said, the poke strap from Taipei Assassins has obviously just crushed down the turrets of Moscow 5. They're now forced to defend this, really putting vision in their own jungle, trying to defend and catch somebody off guard on a team that is very, very mobile.
And what TPA is going for now is they realize that these turrets are much harder to kill. It's very difficult to go for an inhibitor turret. Their split push got the pressure and killed the top and bottom middle turrets there, and so they're down to the inhibitors there. This mid lane is the only easily accessed turret left, but like we just talked about, M5's lineup, specifically with Kog'Maw and Gragas, are very good at stopping pushes. So M5 are looking to sweep wards, or not M5 rather, but TPA are looking to sweep wards and bait M5 into an unfavorable battle. The entire area from blue team into Baron is just filled with amazing places for Anivia walls. If you go from the Golem area, there's just like a really tiny choke point that even level 1 Crystallize would block out. You go from the other entrance near the brush, again, Crystallize will block that out as well without much effort. If you ever see TPA go for a Baron attempt, expect to see Toyz in one of these brushes once he gets Golem buff. Expect to see him in one of those brushes near that Baron pit, but not actually fighting Baron too much himself, ready to Crystallize and block off M5 when they go in. Now he might block off all 5 if they think they can kill Baron in time and just simply pick up the kill, or they'll wait for someone to cross, wall off the rest of the team, and then jump in onto that teammate. Now the problem is, if they wall off one person like Diamond or Darien, Darien's flash is about to come up. Diamond, of course, is Shyvana, can ult back over or flash back over. Alex can body slam or flash, and again, everyone on M5 has flash. So I would not expect TPA to try to wall off one member, go for a kill, because it means, they'll have to turn around, Baron will get some health back, they'll just flash back over, Crystallize will be on cooldown, and then M5 can go back into the fight. So what they want to do is finally clear out enough wards that M5 has to guess when they go for Baron. And when they guess, they need to get to the point where they see someone at the bottom lane, like Genja's trying to farm at the bottom, or Stanley split pushes, forces Genja to defend, and then teleports to his team. Once they've blinded all the ward vision, and once they've done that with their Oracle sweeps and started out Baron, they can deal a whole bunch of damage, they can pick that out, and just crush it down really fast, and Mundo, Nidalee, and Ezreal are really good at that. And then they can kind of go together, wall off the engagement, pick up Baron, and then siege again from there. With Baron buff, it's very easy to siege.
As they are going for it, I feel that some of Moscow 5's points to victory are now being nullified as everybody on TPA is acting as the carry. Very nice barrel coming in from Alex. A lot of damage being taken off there, and that is something that is considerable in a fight, especially on Bebe. If you can separate him from Mistake, there is not much peel that will stop the fight from happening. Stanley off on the side, but can get to the fight very quickly. True Shot Barrage going out. Looks like the blue buff actually goes to Toyz on that one. Again, stealing a buff for himself. Actually stole Dragon last time. The initiation goes down. This is the damage that they needed. They are able to get a good amount down. They do drop 1 for 1 right now. Bebe finds himself on the ground. The focus on Stanley, but it is the escape artist Nidalee to flash out alive, and they're only able to grab 2 for Gosu. A huge fight for Moscow 5.
And that was an unfortunate initiation. TPA burned all of their cooldowns on Gosu Pepper, but they were all grouped together. They were just touching each other, holding hands, and getting just crushed down by Absolute Zero, getting crushed down by Shyvana's initiation, and the barrels coming out from Alex Ish. That was the exact fight they needed, killing out the AD carry. M5 now has map control, and they're going to immediately jump for the biggest thing they can. They've got to risk it here. They're going for Baron.
They put Genja in the right spot. If they did not have him for this, they would not be attempting Baron. But good pressure now coming in from Stanley. They have a Nivea on the right side, and that just spells too much burst damage for them. They back off.
And that's just so unfortunate. And that is, and part of that is TPA putting so much pressure on the map that look at the top wave. The top wave is so shoved down. M5 could not counterattack and go for like a top lane turret. Dragon was dead. That bottom lane maybe had enough pressure to push for that, but the problem is they can't go bottom lane because it enables Baron to TPA. So TPA, you know, because of how much pressure they put throughout this map, they've only allowed Baron as like the only counterattack option for M5. As long as that top lane is pushed down, M5 can win fights for days and never capitalize with any kind of major objective. And that means that a team fight is only worth 450 gold per champion. It's not worth more than that. And that actually allows TPA to kind of hold on to this gold lead longer, even if they misstep.
Really just super safe play around Baron. You see Stanley putting down the bushwhacks, acting as semi-wards. Obviously the team has to walk through them. They start to clear out the Baron pit and they go to force the fight again. They may have waited a little too long as they were pushing away Moscow 5 there during that portion of time when they were back to base. There it is, the crescendo going off, missing the entire team. Stanley all by himself, forcing Gosu out of the fight. He won't even be assisted. And it is going to be huge damage onto Toyz. Diamond now forced out. You can see the area of effect coming from that Anivia ultimate has completely spread out Moscow 5's team. They're all forced to get kills now. The mobility of this team, however, allows them to catch up in these ganks. You can see just how spread out. Genja had to go to the left. We saw them going to the right. Gosu Pepper did go down in that fight as Stanley just had his way with them freaks. TPA dictated that fight from the second one.
And a lot of that was really the Harrier Stanley on Nidalee completely splitting up that roster, and it looked so much like that prior fight where TPA got jumped on, and it was just like, oh, this is scary. Toyz got jumped. Oh my gosh, everyone's just going to lose their cooldowns and get dropped out. Mistaken fully whipped crescendo, but the thing is, Genja was never there to follow up for that fight. The last one where M5 went up 2-1 in the battle is because Genja got to keep putting on damage, you know, on top of the ultimates going off, on top of everyone else dealing a whole bunch of damage. That was not the case this time around. That was Nidalee pulling so much aggression, and by going Trinity Force here, you know, playing a bit of a different role here, actually being offensive based, he is able to jump onto Genja and really ruin his day. Genja must respond to Stanley's moves, and with Stanley being level 18 with Stanley, you know, 3-level advantage there, that really allows him to jump onto Genja and force a response. And so Genja cannot hit targets he wants, he cannot push down on the rest of TPA, and Stanley being so amazingly strong, a lot of magic resist, now going for a Guardian Angel on top of that. There's no easy reaction to Nidalee here.
They are really shutting down Genja this matchup. He is already out of the base. Don't think he has too much money under his belt, and he's actually going against Triforce, Bloodthirster, as well as a little bit of damage mitigation. I think we're going to see maybe a Quicksilver Sash. I'm not sure. That Negatron Cloak is out on Ezreal, but you can just see 10,000 gold to 7,600 gold. He hasn't even finished the Infinity Edge yet. He does have a Phantom Dancer, but with 31 minutes into the game, you really need to see a lot more pressure coming from your AD carries. Huge props to Taipei Assassins for shutting down that champion.
And once again, they're just going to put the pressure onto Baron. They're going to be ready to toss those crystallizes out. There's Toyz waiting in that brush, gets the wall off into Darien, and his flash is up, though he should be safe. He's just tanking and baiting time.
This is the damage he needs. He does throw his ult out. The crescendo Gosu. They put a ward over the wall so they can see better in this fight. The entire team is making it there. Darien gets himself out of life. True shot barrage going through them. Not enough damage to take him down. A beautiful void ooze from Genja, but the flash wall from Toyz. The initiation is still on, and they're forced to back out of this one as they just did not want to walk through the choke of that wolf.
Now, once again, that is Darien playing his role so effectively, saying, yes, focus me, stop hitting Baron, just, you know, just fight me, I dare you. You know, pop his Guardian Angel, but that's fine. He gets to go back to base, buy items, and once again, TPA's attempt at killing Baron is stopped again. Now, they've lost a Guardian Angel for it. That is relevant, but the longer that M5 can buy time, once Genja gets that Infinity Edge, you've seen their team fights be so good that it's just, can Genja actually deal damage? If he can, you'll see these team fights go M5's way.
Really needs that item. Once he hits it, probably about 35 minutes, Genja will become a time bomb for his team, and it needs to be protected. They are going back towards that Baron area. They could have the upper hand here. It's quite low mana for TPA. I'd be very surprised if they try to start this fight. 3 to 4 is the kill score as it just continues to creep up. TPA with a bit of a lead there. They're looking at an 8,000 gold lead overall with 4 turrets in their favor. This giving them the map control. You can see Nidalee going down bottom. That teleport is up, however, Freak. They're going to be able to play this one very cautiously. They're going to go back, make sure they leave a few that can still poke at Baron. We're going to have Bebe there. They obviously don't want to leave this one up, but they have to realize they have the oracles. They're like, they can't even see us backing. We're perfectly fine to do this. TPA is just really playing the clock in their favor right now.
Yeah, but again, that clock is still risky because Genja will continue to scale. Now, finally, you're going to see a death cap come in soon from Toyz. That'll be a big damage shift. There it is, picked up there. That's a very, 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 very important buy, but there we go. Stanley getting his Guardian Angel on top of that. Now it's going to be even harder for Genja to survive this. He's got enough armor, honestly, that even Infinity Edge Phantom Dancer, not all that difficult to deal with. Lilballz, again, preparing for the Baron attempt, running through, sweeping wards, putting another one down, and once more starting out this attempt. Bebe, though, burning his Arcane Ship for this, a little bit of a risky proposition.
See what they do have. That True Shot Barrage is down. We have a few flashes down for TPA, but most of their summoner spells are up. I'd say 90%. All of them except for Ignite Flash for Darien. These teams are definitely ready to dance out this Baron right now. They are in the best possible sorts of their summoner spells and abilities. However, the items in favor of TPA. So it's really going to have to focus this fight perfectly. Darien getting locked up. He took a little bit of damage. That's going to be a tower for TPA as they solidified their advantage a little bit more. We're going to start pushing all of these waves down. You can see the pings going back. They're saying, let's make sure none of the buffs are there. Let's deny everything we can in their camps and only give them the small waves that are coming in. And that's the thing that's going to hurt Genja as well. He doesn't have a lane to farm. He's only picking up minions every so often with his team clearing these waves. So he's not going to get that Infinity Edge super soon.
An aggressive move in, and there's the crescendo.
That's going to be big damage. Darien will go down. The ultimate was used previously. No, actually, he has it back up in time. So they will have some time to create some disruption here. Alex Ish does not like it, though. Flat or exhausted out quite quickly. His damage does nothing as he waits for cooldowns. He does not want his Guardian Angel to go down in vain. You're going to see that fight forced out. He does have the red and the Fates proc going on him. Alex Ish will go down. They're going to focus that Guardian Angel. We see very low health on Toyz as well. He's forced to go back into the fight. The portion of it, they know they're going to win. Stanley still giving 0 F's as he just fights in a 2v1 situation. 35 minutes into the game, TPA completely dictating this entire fight. We have 2 down for Moscow 5 men Q. Stanley just jumping right out of absolute zero as True Shot Barrage hits. And you can see they're keeping them from backing. Stanley is allowing this Baron to go completely uncontested.
And that's going to be the exact right answer here. They had the Baron dance earlier, getting that turret kill, and then finally got themselves into the battle they wanted. They just split up M5 completely. Baron is theirs, 53 to 41,000 gold. This is looking so good for the Taipei Assassins. They've just been strangleholding the map the entire time. Not a single major mistake. The one bad team fight, but M5 couldn't capitalize. That team fight just didn't go anywhere, even when M5 got control, because they had minions where they wanted them. There was no counterattack available. It was only a 300 gold swing, and they were back on it. And you saw just all the moves that were being made. Stanley putting the pressure on the bottom lane, teleporting in when the team fight mattered. TPA constantly forcing M5 off of their turret, making them lose minion waves on their own turrets, and making them run in to stop Baron, walling and burning flashes, walling and making Darien lose a Guardian Angel, just accruing small advantages after small advantages. And as long as they keep doing them with enough frequency, they come back in before the Guardian Angels back up. They come back in before Flash is back up. They do that enough, and they pick up some kills.
Forcing a flash out of Stanley. He does have flash and teleport down now. Not exactly the window we've been speaking of for teams really to fight in. They do have to get that Infinity Edge. Finally now onto Genja. 36 minutes in. Genja very pushed back throughout this entire game. Has done well for himself. However, he's only going to be about, he's 60 minions down on Bebe. Bebe's had free reign over the map, and like I said, with the lanes being pushed, they don't have much to farm singly, so Genja's been forced to find what he can in and out of Gragas barrels from Alex Hitch. And that's really not trying to hurt each other, really doing that on purpose, but it is going to hurt in general as they come into these fights. Bebe so far ahead right now, Freak. This Baron buff could cause that tower to go down.
This is do or die right now for M5. There's no teleport on Stanley. He's only a half lane away, but they did poke off the Banshee's Veil from Anivy. You can see that ticking down on the bottom right of your screen. It's about halfway down. That's really their time to go in. They need to get Toyz out in the fight.
Oh, very nice stop there. Genja on the right side. They get that. Oh, Lilballz going down instantly as he gets caught out. They take down Mistake. They have the initiation on this fight, but they choose to halt on it, push out their lanes, and figure out where they can go from here.
So much damage being dealt, and you just saw the explosive cask forcing that fight to go the way they wanted. Lilballz just not tanky enough to withstand all of that pressure. But again, there was no counterattack available for M5 BenQ. In fact, TPA will even get the Dragon for themselves despite losing 2-0. They're even going to try for this Golem right here that, again, yes, losing 2 kills is a gold swing. It's about 750 gold, actually more like 800 gold for getting that kill taken away, but it's still not that big of a deal. They've still got map control, and they're still ready to put the advantage on. But now, we're getting to that point where gold matters less and less. That late game finally starting to happen. M5 channeling their fellow continent CLG EU into their gameplay and force themselves in that late game. Nunu Kog'Maw will be incredibly difficult to deal with at the end of this game. So right now what I think is that a Frozen Heart needs to come out, I think, from Nidalee here. She needs to put that on and slow down the attack speed of that opposition, because Kog'Maw's now really scary, Shyvana's now really scary, and even Yorick's going to be a bit difficult. He's got that Trinity Force, he's got some decent damage output, but it's mostly to survive Kog'Maw. Again, these team comps are about bashing their skulls into each other in the front line, and they've got to withstand the damage from Genja, Kog'Maw here.
We saw how much pressure Gosu was getting in the early part of the game. He really just went for an item that's going to facilitate Kog'Maw 100%, as well as Diamondprox, but really Stark's, or that Zeke's Herald rather, the lifesteal as well as attack speed, just buffing up, and it's really going to be going to Kog'Maw. You'll see them really sticking together. Gosu has been forced out of the fight, and Stanley's been doing a great job at that. He can only blood boil once. It lasts quite a long time, but that aura from Zeke's is not going to be assisting the team. So we'll see if Stanley goes ahead, focuses Gosu one more time in the fight. They're also missing out a few times now. I think the last time we saw Gosu use Absolute Zero in a fight was in bottom lane.
It's been quite a while overall, and that's really, really significant that that Absolute Zero is going to be a huge deal, because there's actually very few interrupts for it. Now, it won't hit all that hard. He's only level 12, and there is a front line to deal with, and Bebe and Toyz, as they play it right, shouldn't be hit by that damage whatsoever. But the thing is, it's still a significant amount of crowd control, and it really will mess with the front line, not allowing them to kite, and it really just lets Genja melt that front line more. That's what this is all about. It's just, again, bashing your skulls into the skulls of your opponents, and just saying who's got more gold, who does more damage. And so the M5 frontline is there to just lock up the TPA frontline and say, Genja, look, you've been cloned, you've got Blood Boil, hope you got some items, man. I add Last Whisper and Phantom Dancer all in here now. He's hit that late game point. It's now the Kog'Maw show. TPA needs an answer.
It is kind of crazy how that takes such an effective turn here. He is going to be outputting probably more damage than Ezreal. The 4 or 5 shot Kog'Maw kills could be coming out now, especially with that Blood Boil on. He's going to be able to drop somebody and be out of the fight and play even safer Kog'Maw than usual. Alex is trying to push this lane out. Stanley continuously staying top lane. You can see him communicating with his team on the screen in the bottom as they just kind of chat this one out and figure out how they're going to continuously push this lane. With that Baron down, you can see Lilballz can focus down bottom. They don't really have to worry about too many objectives. And you see a good aggress onto Stanley. He's pushed out of the fight though. That blue buff helping Alex to get that ultimate back in just under 60 seconds. It's actually on a 40-second cooldown just about now. And we'll see, it is rank 3. Everybody's just about level 18 except for the junglers and supports. Diamond knows they are going through his jungle. This would not be the engage that Moscow 5 is looking for.
Now they're just going to keep stealing these buffs. And again, this is TPA knowing that they have map control, and in a general fight, especially in the jungle, TPA is happy to just fight like, oh my gosh, Genja, there's a crescendo, he's going to get almost taken down!
Oh, he does live though. However, Yorick ulti coming in. It looks like he wants to get back into this fight, but the Bio Arcane Barrage not even hitting anybody. He throws out one auto attack that entire fight. Very unfortunate. He did take a lot of damage, Freak. Two blinking emblems right now for Moscow 5 as his tower is being pushed. We do see Alex coming down to help his team, but Stanley is by himself up top, pushing that turret. This is not looking good for Moscow 5. The ultimate onto Lilballz. They are going to drop Alex. The Guardian Angel triggering his Diamond. Dragon's descent into the middle of the fight to blow cooldowns for his team. Toyz, so much damage going down to him, and they are able to back this one out as he comes up from Rebirth. Bebe focusing onto the inhibitor. It looks like they drop it. Stanley doing so much work up top, going to drop his own inhibitor as well. Two go down at the 42-minute mark, and TPA looks to just hang out in Moscow 5's base.
Right now a 3-on-4, but they're getting pushed out. Oh my gosh, the counterattack! Gosu Pepper goes down! They've now got a 4-on-2 on the map, and Baron's gotta be soon. It's in 10 seconds. That is the most fortunately timed fight ever for TPA because they're gonna have complete Baron control. There's no way this gets stolen away, and that was just a perfect setup. They dealt so much damage at the start that they forced Genja out, and as soon as Genja had to go heal, you knew TPA had map control. They could simply just push their faces onto that bottom turret, and they would have the damage to kill it out. And you saw them be a little bit pensive, then finally say, no, Genja's out of the fight. It's okay, guys. He's out. Let's go. Let's pick this one up. Even Mundo will respawn in time to allow Baron buffs to go to everybody. Lilballz so tanky now, and you look at his build. I like this build. He's got double Negatron Cloak on top of that Warmogs because he knows that with a Randuin's and a Warmogs, the highest source of damage is actually Genja's W pads. It's actually the Bio Arcane Barrage, so he's adding magic resist to mitigate that. There is going to be so hard for Mundo to drop down here. He's going to be incredibly tanky. You won't see Mundo die again, most likely, unless he gets way too aggressive.
A lot of the team as well went for those Ninja Tabi boots. They're looking for the damage from Ezreal, but that's not going to be helping anymore. There's crowd control that they're getting locked up with that is allowing these fights to continuously happen. Stanley teleporting in, so we're not going to see some kind of cheeky backdoor strat. They're all going for the same lane. They're all going to be, not same lane rather, but they're not going to be jumping lanes. They're going to pick that lane and pressure it down. Looks like mid is going to be the first choice with Lilballz in the option to run towards top with his teammate Bebe. They're gathering together now in front of this turret. The attack speed from Essence Flux is out for both Lilballz. There goes the exploding cast. It looks like they will initiate this fight on. The turret goes down. Darien gets caught out. He can't even ultimate the crescendo, stopping them from using the abilities. Diamondprox goes down. The inhibitor is open. The double kill comes out. Moscow 5 looking very grim right now. Taipei Assassins look to take down the last Nexus turret, and they will drop Moscow 5 from the League of Legends Championship playoffs.
And would you look at that, the cheers, the yells, and the look of relief all mixed at the same time on their faces. Taipei Assassins are the first team to make it to the World Finals.
And online in a major tournament, the first to take out Moscow 5.
They're, well, yeah, as far as internationally goes, they are the first international team to ever beat M5, joining CLG EU in the annals of history. Saying, guys, we made it this far. Would you look at that play? And that was exactly what they said it took. It was early openings. Stanley crushing faces top lane, absolutely took out Darien. I mean, Darien is scary. He didn't feed, he didn't make any bad mistakes, but that lane matchup was brutal. You saw him take the turret down about 12 minutes in, a lot of pressure there. You saw the bottom lane come out ahead, that Sona Ezreal, that counter lane. That was exactly what it took. They knew they were fighting Nunu Cog. They knew it was late game, and they said, yes, M5 Ben Q, we know you're late game. We know you will scale like crazy at this game, but we know we can play this game perfectly. We know we can put the pressure on from minute one, win mid, win top, win bottom. A little rocky in the jungle, but that was okay. They won all their carry lanes, every single one of them winning in minions for the first 20 minutes, you know, taking turrets out early on as well, getting control over everything. The Dragon Steal was great, and then once 25 minutes hit, it was, okay, we can bait you at Baron. We've built a 6, 8, 10,000 gold lead. Come at us at Baron. Sweep boards, come at us at Baron. Sweep boards, come at us. What a beautiful play from TPA. Let's get a replay of that last fight with audio from the team.
Damn, awesome.
And look at that. They know that killer instinct is there. None of the calls were even about who to kill because they saw Darien's out of position. We saw it there as well. Darien was definitely catchable. And what I love Mistake did is it wasn't just crescendo there. It was, let me get in a position. Let me make sure I crescendo two people because Darien will die right away. But let's catch Gosu Pepper as well. Let's make sure Nunu drops as well. They got those two right off the bat, neither getting to use their ultimates in the fight. Gosu not even getting to exhaust or flash. That's how fast he dropped out in that fight. Not able to finish. Mercury Treads was crowd controlled the entire way in that battle. And then at a 5-on-3 with super minions coming in, there's no way you turn that one around. They got their hands off their mice, their hands off their keyboards, just saying, we know we've got this. We know we've got so much advantage here. We've pushed it all the way through. We were patient, and they made it happen. TPA, I mean, from second one, they knew what they were doing. They knew this was, yes, early game pressure will transition. And that is so confident to do that. Where it's not saying, we'll play a standard game, we think we're better than you. It's like, we know we're on a clock. And it's so scary to play an early game team versus a late game team because you can't slip up. You can't give them that advantage. You can't let them snowball ahead of you because there's no coming back once that happens. But every step of the way, they turned it up and turned it up and turned it up and kept that pressure on and completely collapsed on M5.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first semifinal scorecard in the best of 3, going to a full 3 games with hopes that the next will as well for CounterLogic Europe, going up against the Zubu Frost. An amazing matchup for these two teams as we have our first world finalists in Taipei Assassins. They're going to be heading up against, like I said, CounterLogic Europe or Zubu Frost on the stage being built right now behind us for the finals. We can see how the brackets have gone out here. CLG EU, a Zubu Frost matchup. Taipei Assassins versus Moscow 5 BenQ, the much-awaited semifinal match going to Taipei Assassins. The final matchup we had before that for our quarterfinals was World Elite going down, actually Team WE rather, going down to CounterLogic Europe. So already amazing matchups on the day. We found a best of 3 going to the final match within our first semifinals. Hopefully the next one will be just as amazing, Freak. Coming up shortly of Zubu Frost, as I said, faces off against CounterLogic Europe to decide who will join the Taipei Assassins in the World Finals on Saturday here at the USC's Galen Center. Don't go anywhere. Rivington III and Freak. You're going to have Jat and D-Man next. Stick with us.